The world didn't end in a blaze of glory. It just glitched out. Monsters straight out of a video game poured into reality, wiping out humanity like we were all just NPCs in a buggy beta test. But just as everything went dark, time itself rewound, booting him back to the very first login screen. Now he's the only player who remembers the apocalypse. And you better believe he isn't just grinding for levels this time around. Rocking the Forbidden Soul Reaper class, he doesn't need a party, he'll just build his own. He's about to summon a legion of the dead to crash the system before it can delete the world again, because the apocalypse already won once. That ain't happening again, so let's jump in. Inside the game, Immortal World, a high-stakes chase is going down in a desolate desert. A party of girls is desperately running from 3 level 3 ghost wolves trying to shake them off their tail. But it's no use. The cleric is panicking, complaining about their terrible luck. They were just farming low-level sand scorpions a minute ago. She can't believe they stumbled into these wolves and shouts to their warrior leader asking her for the game plan. The leader points ahead, telling them to just hold on a little longer because she spots some sandalwood trees. Apparently, ghost wolves are allergic to climbing, so they can find safety in the branches. She grits her teeth knowing this is their only shot. She knows these wolves have zero chill. Once they lock onto a target, it's game over. Their gear is already busted from their last fight. With their final 2 pieces of black metal equipment shattered, she's seriously wondering if this is where their party wipes. At that exact moment, one of her teammates, a mage named Xiao Hei, completely trips and eats dirt. The other girls whip around, seeing the wolves lunging for their downed friend. They scream out a warning, but there's no way she can react in time. But just in the nick of time, a sword flashes out of nowhere and skewers the wolf mid-air, saving her from becoming Wolf Chow. And holding that sword is our main character Lin Yuan, who's just shown up on the scene. Xiao Hei stares at him completely baffled. She can't believe this guy just saved her, but when she gets a look at his stats, her jaw hits the floor. He's only level 1. A total noob, she thinks. Lin Yuan casually flips down his hood, glances at the wolves, and scoffs that level 3 monsters are barely a warm-up. The beast clearly offended charge at him. He meets them head-on, sword at the ready, and as they leap to attack, he becomes a whirlwind of steel, one-shotting each wolf with a single clean blow. The girls are absolutely stunned by what they're seeing. He just dropped 4 ghost wolves with what looks like a starter sword. Before they can even process this, Xiao Hei points at a new threat. An entire pack of wolves has just arrived on the scene. The cleric nervously asks where they all came from. The mage figures they must have been nearby and were drawn in by the smell of blood. The warrior screams at Lin Yuan to get out of there, yelling that a pack that size could literally wipe a whole village off the map. She's not playing. They will tear him to pieces. He just shoots her a little smirk and pulls up his system menu. A few skill cards pop up asking if he wants to summon some skeleton warriors. He confirms, and with a flick of his wrist, he tosses the cards to the ground. Instantly, a massive magic circle erupts from the sand. From it, level 3 skeleton warriors start clawing their way into existence. The wolves don't hesitate and charge right in, and our MC just grins. He coolly says, "We'll see who tears who apart." His new bony friends rush the wolf pack, and Lin Yuan dives into the fray to fight right beside them. About 15 minutes later, the massive pack is completely annihilated for killing 16 wolves. He banks 160 experience points and a bunch of loot drops like teeth pelts and claws. He quickly starts collecting his prizes. The girls who've been watching the whole thing from their hiding spot finally emerge, asking in total disbelief, "Did he really just solo all of them?" Xiao Hei runs up to him, firing off questions about whether he's a mage and what kind of summoning skill he just used. She's a mage too, but she's never seen a skill like that before. He simply tells her she's mistaken, which only makes her more curious. When she asks who he really is, he just gives her a sly smirk. See, he's rocking a forbidden Scissors rank class, the Soul Reaper. His name is Lin Yuan. He's from Earth, and he's a regressor. Here's the lowdown. 3 years ago, a giant, mysterious, magical planet just appeared behind ours. Fast forward, and 3 months ago, a shadowy company drops a full-dive VR game called Immortal World. The game takes the entire planet by storm. Everyone jacks in with their VR headsets, gets sorted into one of 4 main classes, and starts their adventure. As players leveled up, they gained insane abilities to fight the in-game monsters. At first, nobody took it seriously. It was just a game. But that all changed the day players started manifesting their game skills in the real world. They became known as the Chosen Ones. But with the good came the bad. A death cult that worshipped some evil star god logged out of the game and into our reality. They went on a killing spree, and this horrific event is how Lin Yuan's parents died. The entire world united to fight back. But in the end, humanity was defeated. Lin Yuan himself fell in the final hopeless battle. But he never could have guessed that just an hour later, he'd be shot back in time to the exact moment he first logged into the game. That's when the system hit him with a forbidden class. This time around, he's got to grind his stats and skills way faster. He's on a mission to protect his family and the whole damn planet. First order of business, collect some souls from these wolves, and as soon as he touches one, a crazy amount of energy starts pouring out from all the monster corpses. Then the system prompts him asking if he wants to summon the ghostly wolves of the desert. He smashes accept, and the wolves instantly claw their way back to life. His class is built different. He's got the raw power of a warrior, but can also use dark summoning. This lets him turn bodies into his personal zombie guards. These minions don't just keep all their old levels and skills either. They also get a brand new immortality skill that's totally busted. It makes them immune to the nastiest debuffs, and his Poison Gate talent can bring any monster back using dark summoning. Plus, as the gate levels up, his soul storage capacity gets a major boost. So, at a high enough level, he's going to be rolling deep with an invincible army of the dead. Seeing the zombies, the squad leader gets suspicious and asks who the hell he is. But our boy completely ignores her, just looking at the sky and saying, he should be here any second. Right on cue, a system alert flashes above their heads. The world boss, the giant death wolf, is making a beeline for the rocky desert. Yuen just grins, totally ready for another throwdown. As lightning cracks across the sky, the other players dive for cover when a gnarly rift tears open above them. They all freak out, screaming that the giant death wolf has arrived. According to the game's official website, its attack range is a massive 50 meters, so they all know they need to bounce before it's too late. The players scatter, but the giant wolf is way too fast and starts picking them off. The few who survived are left completely shook by the massacre. This thing is a level 6 giant death wolf with 2 skills, so it's a serious threat. One dude, after watching his friend get wrecked by the wolf, totally loses it and charges in, but the others hold him back, screaming, "Bruh, are you out of your mind? You can't solo the giant death wolf. That's a suicide run." Another player hiding behind a rock asks, "Is that really a world boss? Can that thing even be killed?" But then his buddy notices something. Some guy is just casually strolling towards the wolf, looking way too confident. The player immediately clocks his trash tier equipment, and he's like, "That dude's a total noob." The giant death wolf is a level 6 Lord rank world boss. Even if all of them worked together, they probably couldn't even leave a scratch on it. In the immortal world, monsters are ranked from weakest to strongest. You've got normal elite boss, Lord King Overlord, and finally, tyrant ranks. A world boss, even a level 1, is a death sentence for newbies. But our MC just keeps walking toward the monster with zero chill. The other guys are starting to worry for him, not realizing just how cracked this boss really is. He just tunes them out, and he tells the world boss, "Looking at you now, you're really nothing special." These words completely set the wolf off, and it immediately pops its howl skill. It blasts him with a sound wave, but he sidesteps it just before the wolf lunges at him, activating its Deathclaw skill. Yuen gets in the zone. From his past life, he remembers a level 6 giant death wolf. With this skill has exactly 3,400 health points and 510 attack. For any of the players hanging out in the rocky desert, where the highest level person was only a 3, trying to solo a beast like this was basically impossible. Last time he almost died fighting this thing with a full team. But he's been reborn now, and after countless battles, he's not the same rookie he used to be. As the monster's huge paw comes crashing down on him, he zips to the side. The wolf smashes the ground, and when it sees he dodged, it whips around. One of the players watching can't believe his insane speed. All of a sudden, the monster's eyes start glowing. It's going into rage mode. Our MC just smiles like this was exactly what he was waiting for. After that, he slaps his hand on the ground, summoning the gates of hell. As the gates swing wide open, he gives the command for his warriors to rise. His entire army of wolves pours out of the portal. One of the players is stunned, saying, "This is some next-level stuff. No way are those actually zombies. They look just like the wolves from the desert, but how in the world did he turn so many of them?" Yuen steps forward to join his undead pack. He thinks to himself that just by wiping out the mobs on the way here, he managed to hit level 3. The gate's storage capacity shot up to 30. He was running a bit late, but hitting level 3 was definitely worth it. According to the aggressive immortality mechanic, If the summoner is stronger than their minions, any enemy monster is hard-coded to attack the summoner first. So, while his summoned monsters are taking all the heat, the boss's aggro won't switch off him. The giant wolf just starts swinging its paws wildly, scattering his minions everywhere. But the second one of the wolves lets out a howl. The monster immediately pounces on it. MC knows this is the perfect opening and pops his aggressive mechanism skill. With the boss totally focused on the summons, he cancels its next attack, rushes forward and lands several clean hits with his sword. This leaves some seriously deep cuts on the monster, causing it to howl in pain. The giant wolf immediately switches targets to him, and he figures that whenever the boss aggroes the caster, he just needs to sick his summons on it again to draw its attention. It's death by 1,000 cuts, you know? Even if each zombie is only hitting for 15 damage, that 3,400 health bar on the giant wolf is gonna drain eventually. His wolf pack starts swarming the enemy, which is low-key making it nervous. Then Yuen lunges at it, and one of the other players watching is just like, no way that's a world boss, dude. But they're so captivated by the fight, they don't even notice a shady group of players sneaking up on them with some bad intentions. A few minutes pass, and the boss's health drops all the way down to 500. MC lunges in for the kill, landing a massive crit that takes its health down to just 10. The giant wolf lets out one last agonizing howl before it collapses, and Yuen moves in. The system dings, telling him the enemy is on the brink of death. But right as he's about to deliver the finishing blow, those same sketchy players jump him, trying to steal his kill and all the loot. MC shoots them a look that's pure disgust. The other players yell out a warning, but he's already turning around sword swinging. He finishes them off in a single clean strike. He glances down at their bodies and basically tells them they shouldn't have gotten so cocky. The other guys just stare at him completely shook. He just one-shotted the entire squad of level 3 bandits. By now, the wolf had gotten its second win and managed to get up, but another attack was already flying its way. Yuen deals the final crit, and the system announces that the world boss has been defeated. He gets a sweet reward of 480 experience points and a soul stone. He can't wait to see what drops from the body. A soul stone appears right in front of him. If he gathers enough of these things, he can actually go to the Immortal Council and trade them for some straight-up legendary equipment. Normally, players only get sent to the Immortal Council after hitting level 60, which is the city where elves live, so it's way too early for that now. But getting legendary gear with this stone, that's a total game changer. See, Immortal level gear is split into weak and powerful simple equipment. Then you have gear made of black metal, bronze, silver, gold, and dark gold. Above all, that is the epic, legendary, and fantastical tier stuff. Most beginners are stuck with the most basic gear, and almost nobody manages to get their hands on black metal equipment. Just 2 hours ago, he had to wrangle 2 skeleton warriors just to bait an elite-level sand lizard. That's how he got the bronze tier sand lizard mantle the warriors were guarding. Now the system hits him with another notification. He's the first player to ever defeat a world boss, earning him the title of Monster Hunter. When he activates the title, his attack power, critical strike chance, and spell damage all shoot up by 10%. He looks at the system window, thinking, man, titles in this game are absolutely cracked. They can grant players all sorts of different stats or special statuses. The bonus effect from the Monster Hunter title is insanely useful, and since he was the very first player to take down a world boss, he gets an additional reward. It's a chest containing silver armor. He opens it up and the silver moon sword appears in his inventory. This thing grants 100 attack power and 10 agility. Then there's Death's Eye, an accessory that gives 40 intelligence. It also has an extra skill that boosts the user's attack speed and deals extra damage with something called Oxidizing Rays. He also gets a recovery potion that instantly restores 20% of his health and mana, a level 1 skill scroll that boosts a skill's effectiveness by 100 points, and monster essence, which you can only get by killing super strong enemies. This essence lets you craft potions, or you can just drink it straight up. It also increases strength, physical ability, agility, and intelligence by 10 points each. He's beyond happy with this reward. For the first boss, this is unbelievably generous. The system tells him that his experience points have all been calculated, and his player info has been updated. He immediately feels a surge of power. His level has jumped to 4th, and he got a bunch of extra experience points. When you level up, you get 5 skill points, 3 intelligence points, and 2 strength points. His stats just got a nice little boost. He glances at his status window and thinks, this is absolutely perfect. Our boy now has the most cracked stats of any player in the Rocky Desert. And even though he had to sacrifice his entire zombie wolf pack, he still managed to level up, and his Gates of Hell skill got a sick upgrade. He can now stash a whopping 40 souls in there. Without skipping a beat, he reaches for the giant wolf about to use his power on it. The system prompts him to summon it, and of course he agrees. The wolf's eyes instantly flash open as it rises to its feet with a soft growl. Just like that, it's become one of his new undead warriors. The wolf is now packing 4 insane skills, starting with Wail of the Vicious Wolf, which deals a 40% damage boost to enemies and stuns them for a solid 5 seconds. East Heart pumps its health up by a ridiculous 400%, while Deathclaw increases its attack power by 150. And the cherry on top is Rage of the Risen, which buffs all allies' attack by 10% and their crit chance by 20. Yuen's thinking, no cap, this is what you'd expect from a world boss. The thing has an amazing area of effect skill and some seriously outstanding crowd control. But what really hits different is that after becoming a zombie, it unlocked the Rage of the Risen skill. With this giant death wolf on his side, he'll be able to instantly pull his zombie army straight from hell. He sends the wolf into the gate for safekeeping, while the other players watch the whole thing unfold. They're all whispering that it was so scary, questioning if he really just turned the world boss into his personal zombie and what that bizarre portal even was. They're pretty sure those zombie wolves definitely popped out of there. Hearing their chatter, our MC turns around, and the players immediately duck behind some rocks, terrified to make eye contact. He thought they had all scattered a long time ago, but it turns out they were watching his fight the whole time. He also remembers that after taking out those 3 bandits, he got a black metal sword, which is a pretty good weapon for low-level players. But he's already got the Silver Moon sword, so he heads over to their hiding spot, and you can just see the players getting super nervous. They were seriously considering making a run for it, but our MC just strolls up and asks, "Were you guys the ones screaming?" The guy he's talking to is way too scared to even speak. So Yuen just shoves the sword into his hands, completely surprising him. He just walks away saying it might come in handy. All the other players then crowd around the dude, shocked, asking if the MC really just came over to give him the sword. I mean, it was a black metal sword worth an absolute fortune. About 10 minutes go by, and Yuen suddenly feels a really strange sensation. The next thing he knows, everything goes black. Turns out he was transported back to the real world. He takes off his VR glasses and lets out a sigh. The battery had died, pulling him out of the game. He realizes he needs to start making some serious money and fast. He's got to buy a proper console because Immortal World is a hyper-realistic holographic game, not just some cheap knockoff. It has different zones that are set up depending on the player's country. On top of that, every zone has different worlds you can pick from. For example, his zone L-Pad has 4 different countries. There's the Western Empire of the Ancient Desert, the Southern and Northern Empires, and a place called Tidal Island. In this life, he didn't even think about changing his choice. The first time he logged into the game, he went straight for the Western Empire of the Ancient Desert. That's because right before he died in his past life, he found out a massive secret. On the day monsters started pouring into the city from a portal, he was lying crippled under a pile of rubble. That's when he saw something totally bizarre. Strange people floating in the sky wearing a yellow sapphire on their clothes. It was the emblem of the guild from the Western Empire of the Ancient Desert, no doubt about it. He now remembers that the very first follower of the Devil Star was actually a human. That follower is the key figure in the final ritual to summon the evil overlord to their world, Blue Star. There are still 3 years left until that apocalypse happens. If he can take out this follower within that time, he might be able to stop the tragedy from ever happening. His only clue is that emblem. Only the guilds in the main city of the Ancient Desert put a yellow sapphire on their signs, and you can only get into that city after you hit level 10. So if he wants to expose this rat's true identity, he's got to level up, and fast. Suddenly an idea pops into his head. He tries using the same skills he was just using in the game, and he actually manages to summon a skeleton card right into his hand. It turns out some Immortal World players can transfer their skills from the game into the real world. These people are called the Chosen Ones. They're also known as the Children of Fate, and each one is blessed with a powerful hidden destiny and just immense luck. The Chosen Ones are the main force that stands against the evil overlord. In his past life, his in-game skills only transferred over to reality when the huge catastrophe had already struck the planet. But this time it happened way earlier. It seems like his forbidden class, the Soul Reaper, is truly built different. but he still doesn't know what the big difference is between his class and the other chosen ones. Filled with a hidden purpose, he glances at the door and walks out of his room. When his parents get home, they're completely surprised to find the dinner table already set. His dad's jaw is on the floor, absolutely stunned by the feast their son just whipped up. But his mom, she's already digging in with zero hesitation. She just gives her husband a pat on the shoulder like, "Bruh, can't you see our boy doesn't pull this off every day? Get it while it's hot." And watching them, our MC gets hit with a heavy thought. You really don't know what you've got till it's gone. It's a universal truth, no cap. And then you just scramble to make up for it. In his last life, he took these simple everyday moments for granted, completely blind to how good he had it. He was basically a goblin in his room glued to his game 24/7. He wouldn't even come out for dinner, and if his parents even tried to talk to him about it, he'd just blow up on them. It wasn't until tragedy literally burned his whole world down that he finally got a clue. He realized just how big of an idiot he'd been. Shaking off the past, he sits with them and mentions that since it's Sunday, his sister Tan won't be back for an afternoon snack. His mom explains that she's deep in study mode for a major exam, so she already packed some food to take with her to school. She suggests that if he gets a chance, he should bring his sister a fresh meal, since whatever she packed is probably rock hard by now. Popping a piece in her mouth, her eyes light up. She's completely blown away, saying she had no idea their son could actually cook. These chicken wings, they're absolutely next level. She jokingly warns her husband not to even think about stealing any from her plate. He just laughs and tells her they're all hers. But right then, Yuen slides his own chicken wing onto his dad's plate, promising that there's more to come. He's gonna learn to cook even more dishes. His parents just stare at him for a second, totally baffled, before breaking into huge smiles. From that day forward, our MC starts grinding hard. He's gotta get a handle on the insane power he'll be getting from the game. He wraps up another intense training session, pushing his limits. This run, he clocks the 50-meter dash in 5.5 seconds. Not bad. But this is just the warm-up. He gets home and immediately jacks into the game. He spawns and right where he left off, but suddenly the sky is filled with piercing shrieks. He looks up and a massive flock of birds is dive-bombing straight for him. They're just common level 2 morning birds, and Yuan makes short work of the entire swarm. He nets a measly 15 experience points for the trouble. Yeah, that's not gonna cut it. But then he gets a big brain idea. He turns the birds into his minions and has them fly in a tight circle in one spot. The goal, to bait a pack of wolves. And what do you know, it works like a charm. Our MC hiding behind a rock isn't even surprised. Ghostly wolves of the desert can't resist a snack like that. He pops the top on a vial of monster essence, chugs it down, and gets a clean +10 boost to all his stats. With that power-up coursing through him, he dives straight into the fray. Time for a proper warm-up. The second the wolves get close, he unleashes a flurry of slashes with his sword. He drops 4 of them in a heartbeat. 2 more leap at him, but spotting them mid-air, he dodges with some slick footwork and sends them packing too. But the wolf pack isn't letting up. Now they've got him completely surrounded. He just tightens his grip on his sword, thinking perfect timing. Then he becomes a whirlwind of motion, darting through the pack. He cuts down anything that gets in his way, taking out a whopping 40 wolves and hitting level 5. With the battle won, he sends their souls straight into the gates of hell. He maxes out the gates, and his strength and physical stats jump to around the 20-point mark. Meanwhile, his agility and intelligence are now pushing a crazy 50. Thanks to that monster essence buff, his stats are jacked. He figures he's now strong enough to take on level 5 elite monsters no problem. With his new power level confirmed, he makes his way toward the city. It's time to track down a certain someone. Before long, he strolls into the city of Black Sand and heads straight down the main drag. He ducks into a rundown building and spots his target, Quincy, the local mage instructor. And judging by the look of him, the guy definitely enjoys his booze. From the doorway, Yuen just gets straight to the point. He wants to learn some new skills. He recalls how in this world, you usually get skills from books dropped by monsters or found in treasure chests. Plus, every class has a dedicated instructor. These are the NPCs who actually teach you the skills. Back in his past life when he was just a noob mage, this very same instructor Quincy helped him out. Quincy says he's happy to teach him, for enough coin to keep him drunk for the next 2 weeks. Yuen figures, hey, whatever works. He was a mage in his past life, so he's low-key clueless about the Soul Reaper class. He does know they can use some magic for debuffs, though. But first things first, he needs to lock down the basic skills that all Soul Reapers use before he can even think about moving on to the special stuff. He tells the old mage he wants to learn 3 things: spiritual flame healing arts and stealth. To seal the deal, he tosses a heavy pouch of coins right into his hands. Quincy's response, "You got the money, honey, I got the time." He quickly gives the coins a once-over. Then he holds out his hand and starts casting the magic. He tells Yuan to train hard and let the glory of the mages shine on him, or some other dramatic stuff like that. A system notification pops up. He's just learned 3 new mage class skills. First up is Spiritual Flame, which is a black metal rank skill. It can dish out up to 100% damage costs, 10 mana, and has a 10-second cooldown. Next is Healing Arts, which you guessed it heals whatever you target. So, popping a heal costs 10 mana for a tiny 10% health boost, and it's got a 3-minute cooldown. Then there's the Stealth skill. It makes you invisible for a measly 5 seconds, also costs 10 mana, and has the same 3-minute cooldown. He gives the skill descriptions a quick read. He figures Spiritual Flame is going to be his ticket to some solid ranged attacks. And Healing Arts is perfect for keeping himself and any future squad mates in the fight. Stealth is basically a get-out-of-jail-free card for when things get dicey, but these are just starter pack skills. If he's going to learn the really cracked abilities, he needs a lot more resources. So he decides it's time to get on the grind and level up. Before you know it, he's east of Black Sand City, up on a mountain. The second he gets there, the system gives him a little congrats. He's just discovered a kobold mine. Kobolds are level 5 monsters that like to hang out in caves and burrows. They can even hunt in total darkness thanks to their insane sense of smell, and they're cunning little punks who love a good ambush. Usually they roll about 100 deep, so for his level, these kobolds are the perfect grinding mobs. This way he can level up just by summoning his zombies. He chugs a night vision potion, calls forth his wolves, and heads into the mine. The game plan is to use these kobolds to power level his stealth and spiritual flame as much as possible. And while he's at it, he might as well find a couple of treasures. He lights a torch to see better and orders his wolves to push ahead and clear a path. After 15 minutes of just wandering around the mine, they haven't found a single soul. All of a sudden, the torch flame flickers and our MC spots something moving up ahead. Without a second thought, he yeets the torch in that direction, and the fire lights up the monsters that were lurking in the dark. Turns out they were already having a feast with the wolves he sent to scout. These are level 5 monsters, and they've got 2 skills, Dig and Strike. In the next instant, he and his wolves charge in to attack, and the kobolds meet them head-on. He and his wolf squad managed to take down 2 of the little creeps, but they weren't playing around either. The wolves get dropped almost immediately. Yun rushes forward himself, killing 8 more monsters and thinking that these kobolds aren't actually that tough. The main thing is just to counter their initial attack. But suddenly 4 of them jump him at once. He pops his stealth skill, and the monsters totally miss. While they're looking around for him, he's already teleported behind one of them. He basically calls the thing an idiot, telling it he's right there before landing a devastating strike. Taking advantage of their confusion, he quickly finishes off the rest, wiping out 20 monsters in total. After that, he climbs a bit higher and looks down at the pile of bodies. He's grinning, thinking he's now got 5 out of the 100 experience points he needs to level up his stealth skill. But the stats on these regular kobolds are just sad, so leveling up on them is going to take ages, so he makes them his new warriors instead. They rise to their feet, and he can see all their stats. With their crush skill, they can deal damage equal to 5% of an enemy's health whenever they land a hit. He gives them a wave, basically telling them they're the new wolf pack now. He orders them to move out and find the local boss. Following them, he enters a massive cave with tons of different passages. That's when he notices something weird on the wall, some kind of slime cluster, and a huge grin spreads across his face. Because this is exactly what he's been looking for. He immediately starts launching a fireball right at the slime. The system dings, telling him he just killed 2 swamp liquids. That nets him 4 experience points. But it turns out someone was watching him from the shadows of the cave this whole time. A massive kobold overseer leaps out of its hiding spot and pounces right on Yuan. This is a level 6 elite monster. It's got the skills Dig and Whip. Our MC starts thinking that since the beginning of time, the strong have always hunted the weak. That's just the unbreakable law of nature. But eventually, every predator is destined to become the prey. Because mortal danger is literally lurking around every corner, the kobold lets out a furious roar and cracks its whip against the ground. It kicks up a ton of dust, and Yuan thinks that sometimes hunters can disguise themselves as the prey and attack when you least expect it, which is exactly what he's doing right now. The whip strike doesn't hurt him at all. He just straight up stops it with his bare hand. After that, he grips the whip tighter and gives it a swing, pulling the kobold flying towards him before he smacks it. The kobold goes rolling across the ground, smashing its head on every rock in its path. After that, it gets up looking seriously pissed. It's about to charge Yuen again. But Yuen is already right next to it. He delivers one insanely powerful blow that finishes it off, mortally wounded. The kobold falls to its knees, and then a loud growl echoes through the cave. Turning around, our MC sees a giant pack of monsters. With 2 guards behind them, they crack their whips, activating a nasty skill, and the system immediately pings Yuen. It's a warning the cave kobolds are entering a bloodthirsty state, cranking their attack speed up by 40%. Their movement speed also gets a 25% boost, and this whole rage mode lasts for a solid 60 seconds. He quickly counts about 50 of them. That's a huge mob, but his own squad is just as cracked. He summons the gates of hell, telling his zombies to come out and get some fresh air. Then, with a wave of his hand towards the monsters, he declares that the hunt is officially on. His giant wolf is the first to charge, leading a whole pack of smaller ones. The moment they slam into the kobold line, the giant wolf starts swinging its massive paws, sending enemies flying. It then lets out a massive howl using the Devil Wolf Whip skill, and the resulting sound wave stuns the enemy overseers. Seizing the moment, our MC swings his sword and orders his wolves to take them out. After that, his system feed just blows up with notifications for every kobold overseer he slays. Before he knows it, he's killed 40 of them and dinged level 6. He immediately uses his skill on the freshly fallen kobolds, making the undead his new subordinates, which totally freaks out their living buddies. Seeing their dead friends rise up to fight them is too much, and they decide to bail. Yuen sees this and immediately gives chase, ready to punish them for even trying. But out of nowhere, something flashes above his head. Luckily, he spots it just in time and leaps to the side, narrowly dodging a devastating hammer blow. A system alert pops up, letting him know the enemy just used its decisive strike skill. And that's when the kobold boss finally makes its appearance. This thing is a level 7 monster with some seriously beefed up stats. It charges out of the darkness with a huge roar, yelling that it's been waiting for him. The kobold swings its massive hammer, but our hero is way too quick, dodging the attack as the weapon smashes deep into the cave wall. Then the protagonist gets his own swing and saying, "My turn," as he lands a solid hit on the monster's chest plate before jumping back. He mutters that, as expected of a boss, its defense is so high he barely managed to scratch it. The boss retaliates with another hammer swing. It sends rocks flying everywhere, followed by a forward slash, but the protagonist just hops back again, dodging the hit and skidding to a halt. He thinks to himself, these attacks are on another level. No cap, this thing is built different. Judging by the sheer force of its blows, its strength is at least 3 times greater than any elite monster he's faced. He starts gathering energy at his fingertips, figuring it's time to create some distance so he can keep chipping away at its health. He summons the undead, calling for them to rise. In the next instant, the creatures he just raised from the dead are charging straight at the boss. His giant wolf uses Skin Root and the demonic wolf's howl to close the distance, but the monster activates its decisive strike skill again. The system flashes another warning: decisive strike deals double damage. The protagonist just points his hand forward and commands, "Attack." The ghostly wolves leap onto the kobold, biting and clawing at it from every angle, while the giant wolf jumps clear. And boom, the system announces that their party skill, Rising Fury, has been activated, giving them a 10% buff to attack power. On top of that, they get a 20% boost to their critical strike chance. The giant wolf immediately lunges, sinking its fangs deep into the kobold's arm. It unleashes a powerful pulse of demonic energy, right as our protagonist activates his spiritual flame. It's a magic skill, and he fires off several volleys at the boss, thinking that if he remembers correctly, the kobold boss is super weak to magic. A moment later, the smoke clears, and the kobold lets out a furious growl. It barrels straight towards the protagonist, but he just activates his stealth skill, vanishing and reappearing right behind the monster. He leaps in for the attack, saying that since the boss came looking for a fight, it shouldn't expect any mercy. He aims for the neck, striking right where the flesh is unprotected, plunging his weapon deep into the boss's throat. It lets out a horrifying scream. The protagonist jumps back, dodging a wild swing from the dying monster. Then he snaps his fingers and says, "Come," and his giant wolf instantly appears at his side. He grabs its fur just as a huge wave of new kobolds swarms them. He just scoffs, calling them desperate. The system starts spamming again. He's killed 15 cave kobolds. He's killed 10 kobold overseers. He's killed 20 cave kobolds, then 35 cave kobolds. It's a total massacre. One of the monsters actually manages to break through the wolf pack and makes a beeline for the protagonist. Noticing this, he asks, trying to run. He readies his weapon and adds that first, it'll have to leave its life behind. He unleashes an attack in an instant, flying forward and slicing the enemy's head clean off. The body crashes to the ground a second later. The system announces that he has successfully killed the kobold chieftain, rewarding him with 50 experience points. He glances at the system window, and it's flashing with a big, "Congratulations!" His level has officially risen to 7. He thinks to himself, level 7 excellent. Now he's just one step closer to his goal of level 10 model per. He was this close to stepping into the main city of the Western Desert, now that he had finally gotten the hang of stealth and his spiritual flame. He pumped it up to level 2, doubling its power, and the system window confirmed it. Spiritual Flame, Black Metal level 2. The effect, it dishes out a whopping 200% magic damage to whatever he points it at. All it takes is 10 mana points with a 10-second cooldown, but he's still got a ways to go on the mastery. Same for his stealth. That's also at Black Metal level 2, letting him vanish for a full 10 seconds. It costs 10 mana, but the 3-minute cooldown is a bit of a drag. As he was checking his stats, he whipped his head to the side. He spotted a chest materializing from the monster's corpse and was like, sheesh, a bronze treasure box. Without a second thought, he cracked it open. The system lit up, announcing he had scored a kobold leather bag, an ever-burning torch, a skull mask, and some sick shadow gloves. First up, he checked the cobalt leather bag and found 20 gold coins inside. He looked down at the gold glinting in his hand and grinned. He remembered hearing that the major banks worldwide were about to open up currency exchange between the real world and the game. 20 gold coins could be flipped for 200,000 yuan in real life. Not bad, not bad at all. Then another system window popped up. This one was for the Everlasting Torch, which grants the player night vision in a 3-meter radius in any dark spot. And best of all, it never runs out. The Black Mask was a bronze tier item that cuts down physical damage by 5%. It also came with a plus 10 boost to both his HP and strength. After that, he glanced at the gloves, and his jaw nearly hit the floor when the system window explained what they were. Shadow Gloves, a silver tier weapon. The description said their power was on par with the kobold chieftains. It was a massive plus 30 to both his defense and attack. He just waved his hand, totally blown away by his luck. No cap, he actually pulled a silver weapon from a dinky bronze chest, and these gloves basically gave him the power of the boss he just defeated. He couldn't wait to try him out. Meanwhile, not far from the Kobold Cave, we meet Huang Fei Long, the leader of the Blood Guild and a level 8 warrior. He had his foot planted on a monster he had just wrecked, then swaggered over to a cliff's edge and declared something while swinging his weapon. He boasted that their training was definitely paying off, since they just wiped out 30 ghost desert wolves in less than 60 seconds. The Blood Guild's deputy leader Huang Fei Hu, a level 5 thief, chimed in with a smirk, saying that as long as they stick together, then they're pretty much unstoppable. Another dude Waishan started simping, going on about how awesome their leader and deputy were. He was amazed they took out so many wolves with just one move, saying their strength was something else. Ron chimed in, for real. Wei Ching then added that if they bump into those clowns from the Thunder Guild again, they're gonna get absolutely steamrolled. But then Fei Hu's face soured as he complained that if that Yuan guy hadn't popped up out of nowhere, they would have been the ones to take down the world boss first, and no other guild would dare flex on them. Then in the very next second, the system announced that the giant wolf world boss had been slain by player Yuan. They all just stood there, completely floored. What? Fei Hu was seething, wondering how that scumbag got so lucky, but swore that if he ever laid eyes on him, he'd make him regret it. But the guild leader turned to him and snapped, telling him to use his head for once. He reminded his brother that Yuan is an absolute beast and shouldn't be underestimated. So, instead of picking a fight, he should be helping them get stronger. He then started walking off, adding that he recalled a kobold cave not too far from their position. He said he was gonna to scout it out, and that they should stay put and recover. Ron just said, "You got it, boss." At that moment, Fei Hu was fuming internally. His own brother had already chewed him out 3 times because of this random dude. It felt so unfair. He pointed out into the distance and screamed in his head, "Yuan, you just wait, you idiot!" He swore that one day he'd tear out all of Yuan's nails right in front of his brother and then chop his head clean off. That way his brother would finally see who the real powerhouse was. Just then, Ron told his deputy leader to chill out. He told him not to get so worked up over some worthless scrub, and then pointed saying they should go see what was over there. Fei Hu looked over to where he was pointing and asked what it was. He saw the girl, and a nasty, malicious smile crept onto his face. Meanwhile, our MC was just walking along. A system window popped up next to him, detailing his newest minion, Zombie Kobold Chieftain Level 7, with 1000 HP, 150 attack, and 80 defense. It had skills like Dig Immortality and a crushing blow that deals 200% damage to its target. There was even a 10% chance for a critical strike. He thought to himself that this new zombie chieftain, with its killer stats, was a solid addition to his collection. Besides, his army of the undead at the gates of hell was now 70 members strong. He planned to keep this momentum going. Right then, he heard a girl's voice shout at a group of people telling them not to come any closer and to freeze unless they wanted trouble. She warned them that if they took one more step, she wouldn't show any mercy. But then Ron swaggered up to her saying, "Well, look what we have here. I never thought I'd run into such a beauty today." Fei Hu just grinned and told her not to be scared. They were just going to have a little fun with her, and she shouldn't fight back, she should just enjoy it. Ron just nodded, saying all she had to do was, entertain their deputy leader until he had had his fill. And for her trouble, she'd get a pretty sweet reward. But Sabrina wasn't having it, swinging her staff and yelling that if they took one more step, she'd start blasting. But in a flash, this dude Fei Hu just kicks the staff right out of her hands and asks, "And how exactly do you plan on doing that now?" The kick sent her flying back, and he immediately yanked her up by the hair, sneering. He told her she was just some basic mage and asked if she seriously thought she could hurt them. He told her to cut the crap. "If you haven't given up, now's the time." He got right up in her face and screamed, "Come on! The more you fight back, the more fun this is for me." She let out a terrified scream as he started ripping at her clothes. But the next second, bam! A fist connects with his face so hard he gets sent flying like a rag doll. The rest of the Blood Guild members totally freaked out. "Deputy leader!" they screamed. He slammed hard into a rock, and our protagonist just thought to himself that while the punch packed a wallop, he was kinda expecting worse. One of the guild grunts immediately booked it in the other direction, thinking, "Oh crap, I gotta tell the boss what's happening right now." Just then, Waxing stared at our protagonist and asked who the hell this guy was. Ron just pointed a finger and shot back. "He's pissing off the bloody guild. Bruh, he's about to get wrecked." The protagonist just sized them up and thought, "The bloody guild, huh?" Back in the early days of Immortal World, these guys were the top dogs in the Black Sand region. Most of their crew are straight-up villains. Their names are all colored scarlet, which is what happens when a player's sin counter gets higher than 10. The system literally flags their names in red because they're a huge threat, all thanks to their history of ganking other players. Stealing, looting, you name it. And this is all before the sinister overlord has even invaded this world. And even though dying in-game doesn't mean you die for real, losing all your gear and dropping levels is still a massive kick in the teeth for any player. So our MC asks them, "Hey, you guys from the Bloody Guild." He remembered that in his past life, these scumbags had caused him some major headaches. Wuxing and Ron traded a look, and then Ron puffed out his chest and said, "Yeah." He bragged that they were the #1 guild in Black Sand with a rep that would make anyone tremble, and that our boy had just ticked off their deputy leader. He said the MC should be shaking in his boots and adjusting the bandages on his hand. He added it was too late for apologies, but if he didn't want to die like a pathetic rat, he should go ahead and chop off his own hands. Then get on all fours like a dog and call me Grandpa. But before he could finish, our MC was already a blur of motion, blitzing 2 of the goons at once. He sliced off their limbs clean, and they hit the dirt, screaming their heads off. The protagonist paused for a beat and said, "I appreciate the offer for real, but I think I'd rather cut off that other guy's hands. As for the dog act, you can bark all the way down to hell." At that moment, Sabrina, who was watching the whole thing go down, was totally floored by how cracked he was. Meanwhile, Fei Hu jolted upright. An empty potion vial lay on the ground beside him. The system notified everyone that he had just chugged a health elixir, restoring 20% of his HP and mana. He shot his hand forward and snarled, "You damn idiot." He got back to his feet and furiously declared that the MC was absolutely dead now. Right at that moment, the guild leader himself strolled onto the scene. "Well, now let's see who was stupid enough to do this. Who here has a death wish?" His lackey immediately stepped forward and yelled, "Boss, he's right there!" The protagonist turned around as another bloody guild member. "Mapomer." pointed a shaky finger at him and screamed, "That's him!" He nearly offed the deputy leader. Fei Long's hand immediately went for the weapon on his back. "Who?" he shouted, but then he froze. He thought, wait a sec. The guy's gaze was ice cold and bored, but at the same time Fei Long felt an insane power rolling off him. It was like his eyes were swimming in pure moonlight, glittering like a freshly honed sword. The kind that could slice through reality itself. His aura alone was enough to make you want to curl up in a ball. The lackey then shouted, "Leader! You gotta show this brat what we're made of. Damn it, what kind of blind dog messes with us? Is he tired of living? You idiot, don't worry, we'll help him get one." But at that moment, Fei Long was thinking, crap. This guy's on another level, especially with that sword he's holding. No cap he got that from killing some S-tier monster. I'm sure of it, that's UN. Of all the people on this server, my idiots had to go and pick a fight with him. Useless, they just make everything worse. Our MC then looked right at him and asked, "So, you're the leader of this bloody guild?" He knew he had to keep his cool and look completely unfazed. "Looks like we're about to have a fight." Just then, Fei Hu zipped through the air behind him, and Sabrina screamed out a warning. "Watch out! He's behind you!" A member of the Blood Guild charged our protagonist, yelling, "You're gonna die, you idiot!" The leader also swung his massive weapon, roaring, "You little punk, you decided to make enemies of the bloody guild. That's the worst decision of your entire life," he thought, seeing his opening. But when his attack was easily blocked, he could only yell in shock, "What?" All of a sudden, he spots a kobold spawning right next to the protagonist. The creature swings its weapon aiming for his little brother, but before the guy can even scream, he sees our hero charging straight at him. The protagonist blitzes him with an attack that leaves him sprawled on the floor. After that, our MC walks up and says, "Yup, this guild is a total joke." A system window then pops up right in his face saying, "Warning." It's detected that he just killed a real player, so he's gonna get a +2 to his sin points. He thinks to himself, just 2 points. If he doesn't rack up any more sin points within a week, the whole counter will just reset itself automatically. Just then, Sabrina looks over and shouts in a panic, "Oh my god, they're getting away. Let's go after them." But our protagonist just replies, "Nah, they're just small fry. Why should we even waste our time?" Then a whole bunch of system windows pop up, listing off the loot, starting with an explosive battle axe. It's a silver-grade weapon, and its special effect is that when it hits something, the axe unleashes a massive explosion dealing damage to the main target and any enemies nearby. It gives +40 attack and +30 strength. Next up is the Dragon Fang Crossblade, another silver weapon, and its effect is that upon impact. The blade literally spits flames, dealing continuous fire damage. It adds +30 dexterity and +40 attack. Finally, there's a spiked dagger, a bronze weapon with a +15 attack effect, and a +20 to dexterity. He thinks to himself, not bad. Even if he doesn't plan on using these weapons, they'll sell for a pretty penny. At that moment, Sabrina walks up to him blushing like crazy and thanks him for saving her. She gets a little closer and points out that she doesn't even know his name yet. He just gives her a look. Then he starts walking away, saying his name is one day a day, when she'll see his name listed in the top 10 players on the entire server. She's totally shocked and says the top 10. Then she just waves her hands and yells, "Who cares about some list master?" She's practically begging him to let her join his party. A little while later in the Weeping Desert, the protagonist is walking along, when he suddenly notices movement behind him. A bunch of scorpions burst right out of the sand and a system window appears. It reads, Weeping Desert Scorpion Normal Type Level 6 with 400 HP, a 1 to 10 attack stat 20 defense, and a paralyzing lightning strike skill. Our MC immediately gets into a battle stance and unleashes several spinning strikes at once, hitting all the monsters in front of him. A vortex of dark energy just explodes outwards, and the system announces that all 60 Weeping Desert Scorpions have been totally wiped out. With that, his level shoots up to 8. He thinks, level 8 just like that? Grinding for paralyzing herbs isn't exactly thrilling, but the rewards he's getting are no joke. Rewind to 2 days ago, our protagonist was just standing in a hallway when a guy named Emor approaches him, holding out a hand and saying, "Hero, we finally meet." A system window pops up in front of our MC, letting him know he's just received a quest from the alchemist Emor. It asks if he wants to accept. The quest is called Emor's Will, and the mission is to head to the Weeping Desert and collect 100 units of paralyzing herbs. Once he has them, he needs to deliver them to Emor. The time limit is 1 day, and the rank is black metal. Paralyzing herbs, it turns out, are basically thunder plants that only grow out in the desert. Our MC remembers that a special dungeon is about to open up in the main city. That dungeon is absolutely crawling with thunder-type monsters, and to even have a chance at clearing it, you need some seriously high lightning resistance. This little fact is about to make the demand for an effective lightning resistance potion go through the roof, and the price is going to skyrocket into the thousands of gold coins. In his past life, somebody else made an absolute fortune off this. By completing this exact quest to gather herbs, they got their hands on the recipe for that super effective lightning resist potion. Today is the first time Amor will ever set foot in Black Sand, and after this quest is done, he retires for good. This means players have exactly one shot to get this recipe, so of course he accepts the quest. Back in the present, he looks at the monsters and thinks that the Crying Desert Scorpion might be a level 6 monster guarding the herbs, but for him now, it's not even a speed bump. He's already completed the quest's main objective, so he's going to use this chance to power level his herbalism skill. He reaches out to a plant, and a system window appears showing the stats for his herbalism skill, which is black metal rank. It's at level 2, and the effect increases his gathering speed and adds a 5% chance to find rare herbs. It requires 1 intelligence point and has a 3-second cooldown. His mastery is at 120 out of 200. He snags the plant, gets back up, and thinks it's time to move on. He takes a step and then another one when he suddenly thinks with a shock, "What is this?" The very next second, a massive scorpion stinger erupts from the sand right under him. He leaps to the side just in time as it slams into the ground, and he shouts, "Lightning destroying silver." He stares in disbelief at the enormous monster that just appeared. A system window flashes in front of him, identifying it as a mutated monster, a crystal demon scorpion of the Weeping Desert. The system is just spamming danger alerts as our MC approaches, wondering where the hell a mutated monster even came from. The system window popped up, and bruh, this thing was a beast, the crystal demon scorpion of the Weeping Desert. Level 10 with 2,800 HP, 400 attack, and 400 defense. Its skills were absolutely terrifying. Paralyzing lightning strike, poison needle, earth, rending claw, and crystal lightning. But our MC just smiled. He thought to himself that even though things were getting complicated today, was the day his silver-destroying blade would finally taste blood for the very first time. He charged in, swung his weapon in a deadly arc, and after landing a solid hit, he leaped right onto the monster's body. He was thinking its armor was way too thick to get a clean shot, but in the next second the system blared out a warning that the boss was activating its paralyzing lightning. The entire area instantly erupted with crackling bolts of lightning. But our protagonist was like, "Is that all you got?" and just kept trying to shove his weapon deep into the monster's hide. And then another system alert the boss was using its poison needle skill. A massive stinger was aimed right at his face. He managed to dive out of the way just in the nick of time, stopping right in front of the monster with a deep frown. He admitted this thing was a lot tougher than he'd anticipated. First things first, he had to weaken it. They had a little stare down. Then he yelled out, "All right, kobolds, let's get 'em!" And in the next second, a portal ripped open, and his army of zombie monsters poured out. They immediately started swarming the scorpion, while the MC watched the whole thing go down. He was wondering if his double damage effect had bugged out when the system announced the boss was using its crushing claws skill. It slammed its massive claw forward, sending a bunch of his zombies flying, but his minions fired back with several blasts of magical energy. Our protagonist roared for it to feel the power of his improved flame magic, and the monster's HP bar just kept on dropping. Then he thrust his hand forward and screamed, "Attack!" At that exact moment, his kobolds managed to snag the monster's claws with ropes. They pulled them tight, and their leader used the opening to launch himself off the ground, jumping high into the air. He brought his hammer down in a devastating blow right to the monster's head, and the MC screamed, "Double damage effect activated." The system confirmed it, critical hit double damage effect successfully activated. The monster could only open its mouth wide. It let out a deafening shriek as our protagonist leaped up, concentrating a ton of energy into his hands. He figured if he couldn't get through its armor directly, he'd just have to go through it. The system then announced, "It has been detected that the player has the Hunter-Killer title. Attack increased by 10% chance of activating double damage by 10% and magic damage by 10%. He cocked his fist back. He yelled that he was about to shatter it into a million pieces and turn it into nothing more than a pile of fragile junk. Prepare to meet your inevitable end. With those words, he unleashed a massive punch, sending a powerful stream of energy surging through the monster's body. A A second later, the scorpion collapsed, and our hero landed on one knee beside it. The system confirmed his victory. You have successfully killed the transformed demonic beast, the Crystal Thunder Scorpion Assassin, and he'd scored a sweet 560 experience points. But wait, the scorpion was getting up again, and its body was changing. The system chimed in. Crystal Thunder Scorpion Assassin, level 10, HP 2800, attack 400, defense 550. Its skills were Paralyzing Lightning Strike, Penetrating Poison Needle, Crushing Claws, Crystal Thunderstorm, and Undead Body. The lightning attack now inflicted a 1-second paralysis, and that new and improved Poison Needle dealt 10 points of poison damage. Crushing Claws now dealt a ridiculous 250% of attack damage on hit, and the Crystal Lightning Storm was a 360-degree AoE attack. That new move dealt 100% attack damage, and the Undead Body was a passive effect with no description. Low-key terrifying. Then our MC looked to the side. He noticed more scorpions crawling towards them. He frowned and muttered, "How lucky," before yelling that they were about to meet his brand new tame pet. Just then, the system announced the Crystal Lightning Storm skill was being used. Powerful streams of energy shot out everywhere, hitting all the new enemies. Our protagonist kicked off the ground and, swinging his weapon, flew forward, spinning like a top. He sliced clean through several monsters at once. The system pinged that a weak spot had been hit. He then stopped standing in the middle of all the scattered monster bodies, and the system announced a level increase. He'd finally reached level 10. A system window popped up in front of him, saying Player Yuan Abyssal Forest level 10. His abilities were Soul Reaper, which was sealed, and the talent Dark Summoning. The Spiritual World Gate was at 20 out of 100. His stats were now Strength 32, Constitution 28, Dexterity 47, and Spirit 53. His experience was 152 out of 159. The protagonist looked at his new stats and said with a grin, "Man, this feeling of getting 2 levels in a row just hits different." Then the system reported the loot drop. He'd received a ton of silver equipment, including a Lightning Spear Guardian Greaves, a Paralysis Ring, and Ghost Bracers. He figured all the loot in the chest was at least silver ranked, and if he just sold a few pieces, he could totally change his parents' lives for the better. Then he glanced over at the monster corpses, and the system chimed in. With every last demonic beast in the vicinity totally wiped out, everyone's hyping him up. And for good reason, he just snagged a gold rank skill that's a perfect match for his unique ability. He glances down, absolutely mesmerized by the raw pulsating power now swirling in his hand. A moment later, a book materialized out of thin air, and he thought, "This is it." The system announced Curse of Darkness gold rank. Learning conditions, Soul Reapers only. He slapped his hand on the book, spoke a word of acceptance, and the system confirmed the skill was automatically seared directly into his memory. In the next instant, a wave of immense power surged through him as a beam of energy shot straight into the clouds. The system congratulated him for snagging the Soul Reaper's exclusive skill Curse of Darkness as a storm of spectral skulls swirled around him. A new window popped up, Curse of Darkness, gold rank level 1. Its effect deals damage equal to 20% of the target's current HP, or it can restore 20% HP to any allied undead. It costs 100 mana with a 10-second cooldown. He looked down at the ethereal flame now dancing on his hand. He thought to himself, "So, this means I can heal my undead crew for 1/5 of their health." He then spun around, checked out the scorpion's health bar, and fired a stream of energy, saying he'd give it a shot. A second later, the system reported that the scorpion's health was back up to 80%. After seeing that, our MC clenched his fist and declared the warm-up was officially over. It was time to head to the main city and find his very first subordinate. But then he stopped and said, "Hold on, for real." Back in the present, he felt his mom's hand on his shoulder. She called his name, telling him his dad's back was acting up again and that he should go to give him a hand. The protagonist slid his gaming helmet off and looked at her. A moment later, he was helping his dad ease onto the sofa, telling him to be careful. His dad lay face down as his mom went off on him, asking why. A man his age was still pulling such reckless stunts. He'd tried to fix the AC by himself instead of just calling a repairman like a normal person, and now his back was paying the price. He propped himself up, grumbling, "You gotta save money where you can." He reminded her that just last week he fixed the broken washing machine himself in just a few minutes. He insisted it was nothing, just a little strain, and that a good night's sleep would fix it. Besides, he had to go pick up Tan from school the next day. Our protagonist just looked at his dad for a moment, before quietly closing the door behind him. The following day, his parents were still in bed when they heard a commotion and walked out into the hallway. His mom, holding on to her husband, whispered, "Yuen, is that him? What's all that noise so early in the morning?" Their jaws dropped when they saw several workers installing a brand new massive television. One of the workers came over to the dad and asked, "Excuse me, are you Mr. Lin? These are the new appliances that Mr. Yuen ordered for you." He explained they had delivered and installed everything as fast as they could and asked them to please check over the delivery. The parents just stared, completely stunned and a little. The mom finally whispered, "Wait, am I dreaming right now? What is even happening?" Meanwhile, our MC was getting a workout in at the gym. Just then, a staff member named John came up to him, apologizing for the interruption. She asked if he was looking to sign up for the VIP package. "You want to pay for the whole year up front?" she asked. He just handed her his card and said, "Yep, here you go," thinking to himself, he'd already sold off the gear he didn't need, paid for home renovations, and got a gym membership for the whole family. After all, his parents and his sister Tan needed to start training early. That way, they'd have an easier time adapting, once they all entered the immortal world stage. At that moment, John glanced down at the card and started blushing like crazy. She thought, "Oh my God, this guy's been working out forever, but his face isn't even red. He's not even breathing hard. And that physique, he's a legit athlete." Then her eyes went wide as saucers and she gasped, "Wait a minute. Isn't this a premium VIP black card? They only give these to clients with over 5 million in their account." Right on cue, our protagonist answered his phone and said, "Yeah, that's right." He explained, "It's prize money from a gaming tournament. You guys just rest up at home today. I'll go pick up Tan myself." John stared at the card again, thinking, this guy is absolutely cracked. He's so young, but he's already achieved so much. A little while later at Shishui No. 1 High School, students were pouring out of the building. "Class is finally over," one shouted. "Let's hurry to the internet cafe and get a team together," someone else suggested. At that moment, a girl named Tan was walking ahead, and her friends followed her, chattering excitedly. "Hey, since it's your birthday today, we should all come over to your place. Yeah, your brother bought you your favorite strawberry cake, right?" The girl smiled and replied, "Wow, you're so lucky. Having a big brother is the best." She's low-key jealous, wishing she had a brother of her own, but then Tan stops herself thinking, "A brother, bruh, it's nothing to be envious about." She has a flashback to peeking into his room, only to find him glued to his video games, and she remembers thinking, yeah, she definitely wouldn't want a brother. Just then, some punk named Phil rolls up on her, calling her the school beauty, and acting all high and mighty. This other dude, Robert, smirks with his arms crossed, bragging about how they tried to hit her up through mutuals so many times, but she always curved them. He says that since they came in person this time, she should finally show them some respect. Tan just gives them a dead-eyed stare and asks what they even want. Right on cue, her classmates show up, asking who these random guys are. Robert gets way too close for comfort. He points at her and starts talking about how smooth her skin looks, saying he should get to touch it. But she's not having any of it. She slaps his hand away and yells at him to back the hell off and keep his hands to himself. She gets right in his face, pointing a finger at him, and adds a little warning. If he lays a finger on her again, she's calling the cops. That's when he cheap shots her from behind, screaming that she doesn't deserve any respect. She lets out a cry as the blow sends her sprawling onto the ground. Her classmate shouts her name in a panic, but Robert just winds up for another swing, yelling at her for being so sensitive. He sneers, asking her why she's pretending to be so innocent. Tan just throws her hands up to cover her face and squeezes her eyes shut. But in that exact moment, our MC's hand darts out, catching the dude's arm mid-swing. He asks who the hell gave him permission to mess with his sister. Tan is completely shocked, barely getting out, "You!" Robert tries to swing with his free hand, cussing about where this random dude came from. The other bullies get ready to jump in, talking a big game about knocking all his teeth out and how he must have a death wish. One of them says they'll break his arm first and talk later. But before they can even blink, our protagonist lands a clean punch right on Phil's jaw, follows it up with a few more hits, and caps it off with a brutal kick to Robert's face. He pins the dude to the ground as a crowd of students watches, completely stunned by the beatdown. After wiping the floor with them, our MC just says, "Let's go." A little later, as they're walking, Tan looks over at her brother and asks why he even came to school. She's thinking that all he ever does is play games 24/7, so why the sudden appearance? He casually tells her their dad threw out his back. Because of that, their mom had to stay home to take care of him. Tan immediately panics, screaming and asking if he's okay and if it's serious. The MC just looks at her hands stuffed in his pockets and says, "Nah, it's nothing major." They keep walking, and Tan starts thinking to herself. She can't remember the last time they had a real conversation like this. The whole vibe feels kinda awkward, no cap. Then she hears some girls calling out her name. They run up totally freaking out, asking if that's really her brother. He's absolutely nothing like the lazy slob she made him out to be. They're gushing over how cool and handsome Senior Yuan is, asking why she kept him a secret. Tan glances at her brother and thinks, wait, is he cute? The air is buzzing with whispers, girls asking who the hell this super handsome guy is, realizing he's one of the graduating seniors. The consensus is he's way more attractive than any other guy at their school. Tan is floored. Turns out her brother is secretly Mr. Popular. Just then a girl walks right up to him with a big smile and says hello. Our boy greets her back, and Tan is just processing. She's wondering when he got so tall. And did he always have muscles? No wonder he absolutely dismantled those jerks so easily. After the classmate says her goodbyes, Tan waves and tells her she'll see her tomorrow. Then she turns around to see her brother crouched down, telling her to hop on for a piggyback ride. She blushes bright red, waving her hands frantically. She insists there's no need, that she can walk on her own. She's thinking, what is he even doing right now? Getting carried on someone's back in front of the whole school is pretty much her worst nightmare. But he just pulls her in. She looks ahead mortified as he easily lifts her onto his back. She yelps for him to stop, but he just tells her that all her classmates have already left. He says if she can't walk, she shouldn't force it. Then he casually mentions that she hurt her ankle when she was pushed right. She frowns, completely baffled as to when he could have possibly noticed that. Later on, they get back to their apartment, and the MC announces that they're home. Tan calls out to her parents, and they chat for a bit. After, their dad looks at them and says something. He's just glad that both of them made it home safe and sound. A little while later, our MC is in the kitchen washing the dishes. The mom pulls Tan aside and tells her to look at her brother, saying he's like a completely different person now. Her husband totally agrees, adding that he even cooks sometimes and buys new appliances for the house. Their mom says that the feeling between them has gotten warm again, just like when they were kids. It seems like everything has changed for the better. At that moment, Tan, who's been listening quietly, asks if that's really true. She thinks to herself, what a strange guy he is. Maybe he really has changed. Just then, the MC calls out that he's got everything ready. He rips off his apron, announcing he'll be in his room, and then totally slams the door behind him. And Tom's just thinking, bro, what did she even expect? I mean, for real, he's a shut-in unemployed gamer who never leaves the house. But a second later, our protagonist pops back out and tosses her a pack of pills, telling her to take them after her shower. He claims they're amazing for recovery, then dips back into his room, making it known that it's officially game time. So, unless it's a legit emergency, she better not bother him. Tan just clutches the pill pack, shuts her eyes, and sighs. Great. Like anyone was planning on visiting him anyway. Later, the mom asks if she's noticed they've been getting closer. When asked what went down at school, Tan just shuts her down with, "Nothing, Mom. I'm gonna go take a shower." At that exact moment, our protagonist lets out a huge sigh, sinks into his gaming chair, and announces that his work is done. The household chores for the last few days are officially complete. He gives the helmet a long look before putting it on. He declares that he's heading back into the game. A moment later, in the main area called the Windy Sands, he lands with enough force to crack the ground. Staring ahead with zero chill, he says it's time to find that rat and drag him out. The system then reported that he had successfully entered the Windy Sands area. He scans a building in front of him, and a short while later, some guy is already on the ground, pointing a shaky hand forward. The dude is screaming his head off. "Honorable officer, I swear to God this is just a big misunderstanding." An officer just stomps on him and barks, "Silence. Stop the lying. You better get ready to think about what you've done in prison." Then he glances to the side, thinking, that's odd. Am I just imagining things? Of course, our MC is hiding behind a wall, thinking that these street patrols have a crazy good sense for criminal activity. He calculates that for his sin level to finally reset back to 0, he'll have to stay hidden in the shadows for at least 3 more days. But, he muses, this is actually the perfect time to pay a visit to an old friend I haven't seen in forever. A bit later, he's inside a church. Some priest named Lawrence is waving his hands around, saying, "In the name of the divine, the darkness of your past is washed away." He's going on about how his soul will now be as pure as snow, and the holy light will brighten his path. Now I will perform the rite of baptism. Just as some guy is kneeling before him, our protagonist casually walks into the room. He says he's from a charity house for the poor. The priest gives him a look, and our MC adds that he'd heard a patient was in critical condition here, and he came to offer his help. The priest replies that if that's the situation, they would be incredibly grateful for his assistance in curing Knight Douglas's illness. Our MC just says bet. Meanwhile, Douglas Wayne is laid out on a bed. The protagonist remembers him. This guy was part of one of the most cracked Bond knightly orders from the ancient Western Desert Kingdom, the Order of the Scorpion Lions. No cap back in his previous life when he was just a level 15 noob. Then he barely managed to snag a golden tier weapon from this dude. He walks up to the bed and says, "Mr. Douglas, I came all this way just to cure the poison in your system." Douglas looks him over, sees he's only level 10, and immediately sits up. He grins and asks, "Just a level 10 mage? Even a street patrolman is stronger than you?" Then he proceeds to hurl his guts. Right onto the blanket. The MC, totally unfazed, just says, "The poisons in your body are already starting to destroy your organs. If you turn down my treatment, you won't live for more than a month." Douglas actually seems to think about it for a second, then speaks. To cure the poison, he says our boy needs 1,000 rotten fish oil. "If you're not afraid of death," he taunts, "you should go try your luck in the filthy clay desert." A system notification then popped up, saying he'd triggered a request from Douglas and asked if he'd accept. Quest name Douglas's request. Quest level gold. The objective, he's got to get his hands on 1,000 rotten fish oil and fix the poison in Douglas's body. He answers, "Of course." Before long, he arrives at the filthy clay desert. Tons of fish are swimming in a pond. The system identifies them, rotten fish oil, elite level 15 with 3,500 HP and attack of 300 and a defense of 45. They've got skills like tail wave jump and fish curse. At that moment, a group of guild members suddenly jumps back. They're screaming like crazy when a player named Hunting charges in, yelling for them to wait. "These fish have seriously sharp teeth," he shouts. "You have to let them try a bite attack." Just then, their archer collapses screaming as his back gives out. A fish then unleashes a powerful shockwave of energy. A guy named Xing gets sent flying sideways, just barely dodging it, while several other dudes are yeeted into the water, screaming for help. A system alert flashes tail wave jump has been activated. The fish monster whips its tail around and its massive jaws swing wide open. Xing gets launched high into the air, and staring right down the monster's throat, he thinks to himself, "Bruh, this is it, I'm totally dead." But then out of nowhere, our protagonist zips in beside him, grabs him by the collar, and just yeets him to the side, telling him to stay out of the way. He gathers a ball of pure energy in his hand, and then unleashes a powerful magic beam straight at the creature. It creates a massive explosion on impact. Then our protagonist simply touches the ground, and a split second later, Ching screeches to a halt. He grabs his own neck, wondering if he actually survived before turning and yelling for the guy to wait. He looks at our protagonist, who is already flying ahead, and asks, "Where'd that incredible hero from a second ago disappear to?" At that exact moment, the MC is already charging energy in his hand, rocketing forward and unleashing a whole barrage of attacks at once. He's tearing through every single monster in his path. This just ticks off the rest of them, who leap right at him, making Ching scream in panic. "Great hero, you gotta be careful," he yells. The monsters start closing in on our protagonist, but he just dodges to the side and scoffs. "Is this seriously all you've got?" He lands, pulls out his weapon, and says, "Trash is still trash even when you pile it all together. Still garbage." He holds his sword at the ready, and then starts dicing through the horde of monsters in front of him. Seeing this, his guildmate Ching just exclaims, "Damn it, what kind of hero even is this guy?" There were 8 of us getting totally wrecked, and he just took down 5 of them all by himself. He's unbelievably strong, but no cap. Even he can't handle all these fish alone. The most dangerous thing about these monsters is their group attack skill, and right on cue, Ching stares ahead, his face pale with fear. He sees the monsters begin to channel energy, releasing enormous clouds of smoke. Even our protagonist looks ahead with a hint of surprise. The air crackles with power around him as the system announces that the mutated fish are activating a group skill called Echo of the Council's Venomous Fangs. It warns that all enemies in the area will get hit by a poisonous fog. This fog inflicts some nasty debuffs, like confusion and making you hear things that aren't actually there. Just then, a glowing magic symbol appears above our protagonist's finger as he lets out a little smirk. What a pathetic trick. I'm not falling for that again in this lifetime. Then he shouts, "Arise! Giant wolf!" In the next second, his massive beast summon tears through a portal, and the protagonist gives his command. Use the Hungry Wolf's Howl skill. The wolf immediately plants itself on the cliff's edge and lets out a deafening howl. The system reports target hit. All the mutated fish are instantly thrown into a stunned state. Our protagonist then puts a hand to his face and says, "And now?" The system chimes in mask awakening effect. He gets a one-time protection from the poison fog. As he raises his weapon, a mask materializes over his face, and he leaps right off the cliff. "Have some courage and meet your end," he roars, swinging his weapon and landing devastating critical hits. He keeps targeting the monster's vulnerable spots again and again, pushing forward while screaming that they all need to die. He finally stops standing on a literal mountain of dead monsters and feels energy creeping up behind him. "Too slow," he mutters. "If you guys love pretending to be stinking insects in the mud so much, then you can just rot underground forever. You're all idiots." He hurls his energy-infused sword forward, and in the next instant, a powerful explosion rips through the area. Ching points ahead in absolute shock. "Whoa," but his teammate yells, "It's too soon to celebrate." "You need to look. More of them are coming." And there's our protagonist now standing right next to his summoned scorpion. He commands Forward Thunder Zombie Scorpion. The system reports that the Crystal Storm, a skill has been activated. A slashing attack rips forward, followed by bursts of magic erupting from the scorpion's body. It completely annihilates the pile of monsters in front of them. A second later, Rowan clutches his head, shouting in disbelief. "Just like I said, it's useless. There are way too many of them, and they're much stronger now. You can't just one-shot them all." But our protagonist just uses a monster's body as a springboard to leap onto a cliff, coolly asking, "Who said I wanted to kill all of them?" The others just stare at him, completely baffled. And Ching blurts out, "Wait, what the hell?" His teammate suddenly shouts, "Look at where the scorpion is headed. It looks like it's aiming for the females' stomachs. He must have figured it out." It looks like the males have started attacking each other. And sure enough, at that moment, the fish monsters actually started eating their own kind. The MC knew this would happen. When a dying female lays her eggs, she releases a massive amount of sticky stuff that attracts the males and drives them insane. They immediately switch from attacking to protecting the eggs. So these things are just going feral, attacking everything in sight, but our boy says he's going to use that to make them kill each other. Just then, one of the freaks lunges right at them, and Jing screams, "Sir, watch out!" A massive jaw full of teeth is closing in, and Jing is losing it, yelling, "What is that thing? A female? Why is it so huge?" But our protagonist just smirks, saying it's about time. Then he shouts, "Ghost wolves attack." He points, and a whole pack of spectral wolves pounces on the monster, sinking their fangs into it from every angle. He notes that as expected from a level 15 elite monster, even 6 ghost wolves can't finish it in one go. He then grabs his weapon, but he adds that as long as they can pin it down, killing this thing will be a piece of cake. The system dings, one elite fish has been deleted. He immediately swings his weapon, slicing the creature's belly wide open. "Like this," he grunts, pulling out a few eggs. Ching is completely lost, asking, "Master, what are you doing?" Our protagonist turns to his crew and tells the wolf holding the monster's head to get to the stone in the middle of the area. The wolf instantly leaps to the exact spot. "Perfect," our guy shouts. The wolf then throws its head back and lets out a massive howl. The MC commands it to gather them. Right on cue, the other monsters start swarming towards that one spot. He needs to lure in all the males. The scent of the eggs hits them, and our protagonist grins. Now they're hooked. The guy knew the fish eggs would work like a magnet for the males, basically creating a pheromone bomb that would drive the entire school insane. After that, the protagonist starts gathering a wild amount of energy around himself. Pointing forward, he says, "This isn't enough," and now it's their turn to taste some of his special brew. At that moment, even more of his undead minions appear. "Go," the MC commands. The undead army immediately clashes with the monster horde. Rowan shouts, "Is that the blue poison from the males?" Our protagonist confirms it, explaining that the males have a sac of blue venom growing inside them. He says it's kind of like capsaicin, and the toxic gas and foul smell act as a huge danger signal for these fish. They can hear the monsters starting to freak out. The creatures begin swimming in every direction. One of the onlookers is shocked, saying, "So, that's why they always stay at least 5 meters apart." "They're terrified of it," the protagonist adds. "They aren't even immune to their own poison," he continues. "Once they get hit with it, it's pretty much game over." Hearing this, Jim starts cheering. They're gone, no more fish. With the area clear, the protagonist announces, now all that's left is to finish the mini-quest and collect the loot. With that, he just yeets himself off the cliff, The people watching can't believe it, saying he cleared the whole zone solo. Absolutely cracked. Simply amazing, Ching says, clasping his hands together and declaring he'd gladly be the dirt on the MC's boots. A second later, the MC is already carving up the monsters. Done, he says, climbing back up the cliff. A system notification pops up, reporting that he's banked 12,000 experience points and hit level 11. He reflects that the only reason he handled that so fast was because of the countless battles he fought in his past life. After that, he removes his mask, thinking that it was also a huge help in winning this fight. Too bad it's a one-time use item, especially since he dropped 5 gold coins on it. A total waste, but no cap, it was worth it. Then he holds out a vial, and energy begins to gather inside it. The system announces rotten fish oil 1,000 grams. It was extracted from the fatty body of a rotten fish from the mud desert and is one of the ingredients for high-level healing potions. The effect, it apparently works miracles on festering and ulcerated wounds by restoring damaged skin cells. Our protagonist then spots a red orb and says, "Oh, I almost forgot about this." A system window appears in front of him reading, "Wave." Caresser's nose. It's a silver-type armor, a flexible spherical shell made out of tough, rotten fish skin. When you press it, this thing makes a noise, vibrates, and even glows, all while pumping out the smell of rotten fish pheromones. It's designed to make small and medium-sized sea creatures totally freak out, and our protagonist just stares at it, completely baffled. He's thinking, the quest rewards are decent, but this design is a straight-up trollger from a dev who just wanted to mess with us. Seriously, how can something so powerful look exactly like a clown's nose? Just then, Ching runs up to him yelling, "Whoa! That's so sick and it glows. My God, it's even moving." The protagonist looks at him confused, asking if he actually likes this thing. Ching is overjoyed, shouting, "This is one of a kind, sir. Can I please buy it from you? I'll pay whatever you want." At that moment, Rowan puts a hand on his shoulder, apologizing and saying he's always like this. After that, the protagonist gives Ching a weird look and says it was a gift. Jing begs him to wait, saying he should at least let him pay for it. But our MC just replies that it's not even worth it. The very next second, massive wings burst from his back, and Ching just screams, "Sir!" He's a real angel. Rowan just watches him fly off, thinking, what is he even on about? Who in their right mind would pay for that trash? A little while later at the church, our MC pours the potion's contents right onto Douglas's chest. Douglas jolts awake, asking what's going on. He sits up in bed, looks at our protagonist, and says he can't believe he actually managed to pull it off. Just then, the system dings, announcing he's successfully cleared the golden quest, Douglas's request. And his reward pops up. A golden weapon, the green spirit blade. He gazes at the sword thinking, finally the green spirit blade. The very first gold-ranked weapon I got in my past life. The system window breaks it down. Green spirit blade, gold rank weapon type. Effect, plus 150 attack power, plus 150 magic damage, and plus 100 intelligence. It also comes with an acquired skill, Cursed Seal of the Green Spirit. The Cursed Seal of the Green Spirit has a range of 100 to 150 meters. Slaps the victim with 150% damage, has 0 cooldown, and only costs 10 mana. He thinks to himself, the basic stats are kinda meh, but that acquired skill, the Cursed Seal, is absolutely busted in a fight. Especially with its hidden effects. Every single strike builds up green spirit energy inside the enemy, and after you land 3 hits, it unleashes an extra 250% damage. Bruh, this very blade was what helped him dominate the entire western desert. It's what made him the top mage in the whole region. He looks at the weapon in his hand again as the system notifies him about his reputation reward. He gets a plus 1,000 reputation boost in the main city, and a plus 500 reputation boost with the Scorpion Knights. He figures that even though he didn't get as many rep points as he did in his original timeline, it's still more than enough to walk around the city without any issues. Then he spots another system window and thinks, wait, what? There's more. The new notification says that because he completed the quest so brilliantly, he's getting an NPC affinity reward, a plus 10 to his affinity with Douglas. Our MC realizes things are playing out way differently now. Douglas then flashes a grateful smile at him and says, "Thank you, brother. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have even lasted another month." Our protagonist just says it was the least he could do. Douglas then tells him that, as a token of his thanks, he wants to give him a warning. The MC starts to wonder, is this happening because I got those 10 affinity points from the hidden storyline? Douglas then says that if he ever runs into a guy named Quincy, He needs to stay as far away from him as possible. In response, our MC says, "Quincy, he's my teacher. What's the problem?" Douglas shouts in shock. "What, your teacher? Even though he's hiding his class. He's a soul reaper, isn't he?" As he says this, he gets up from the bed. The protagonist looks at him dead serious and asks how he knows that. He thinks, "I hid my profile. Not even Quincy himself saw my class." Douglas explains that back when he was a knight in the Order of the Scorpion Tail, they reported directly to the king and handled all sorts of secret missions. One of those missions was hunting down soul reapers. To do that, he learned a special skill called darkness recognition. The protagonist asks, "Darkness recognition?" Douglas confirms it's a unique skill that only the Scorpion Tail Order has. The second a soul reaper shows up, he instantly knows they're in the area. The closer they get, the stronger the signal is. Our MC asks, "So you knew from the very beginning?" He can't believe there are skills specifically designed just to counter soul reapers. Douglas looks down at his hand and says, "No, I was poisoned, and it messed with my perception. At first I had no idea. But now that I'm all healed up, I know everything. I can feel the presence of the Dark Lord on you, and there's no way you can hide it." The protagonist is floored, asking, "The Dark Lord?" Douglas says to understand they'll have to go way back to the most famous legend in the immortal world. So, in this world, they've got a whole pantheon going on featuring 5 main gods: the god of light, moon, shadow, nature, water, and the soul. But get this, there used to be a 6th god in the mix, the Dark Lord, also known as the King of the Dead. And this dude wasn't just some minor deity, he was the strongest of them all, completely cracked from the get-go. Being the top dog, the Dark Lord pretty much did whatever he wanted. He juiced up his most loyal followers with an insane amount of dark power force changing their class. He yanks their souls and twists them into soul reapers, basically putting them on a leash to carry out the Dark Lord's orders. And these soul reapers had absolutely zero chill. They spread a plague that took out millions, then started turning the bodies into a zombie horde just to wreck everything. The world finally got its act together and united to take down the Dark Lord. They smashed all his temples, torched every record of his existence, and hunted down every last soul reaper. After that, the class was permanently banned. Douglas then puts a hand on his chest and drops a bomb. One of those same soul reapers hit him with a nasty poison. And he's been suffering from it for 10 whole years. The guy had pretty much accepted he was about to kick the bucket, and that's when our protagonist showed up. The MC frowns, his mind racing. In his previous life, he was just a regular mage. He never dreamed this old legend had such a dark hidden chapter. So that's why the Soul Reaper class is so taboo. It's a damn good thing he's been keeping his new drop title on the down low this whole time. This just cranked the difficulty up to nightmare mode. He thought taking care of Minus would help him find some clues about that emblem back in the capital. But now, if he can't mask the Dark Lord's energy he's putting out, his class could get exposed at any second. He looks at Douglas and asks if there's any way to stay off their radar. He means the Dark Order of the Scorpion Tail. Douglas clenches his fist and tells him the truth. He says a guy named Quincy could help, but if that dude finds out our MC's secret, it's game over because a Soul Reaper murdered his wife. That's why he's warning him to stay far away. A little later out in the rocky desert, our protagonist is on the move. The system pings that he's returned to the area, and after just 10 minutes, Douglas is already screaming his head off. Have you lost your damn mind? You're seriously going to Quincy? That man's only dream is to shred every Soul Reaper into tiny pieces. The MC just turns to him dead serious, saying he has no other option. If he can't solve this problem with the Dark Lord's presence, he's going to be a walking target. He has to get rid of it. But in the next second, he feels a blast of energy rocketing toward him. He whips around, dodging just in time. What the hell was that? Fei Long steps out grinning, saying he's been waiting a long time to finally catch him. Fei Hu smiles, adding that last time. He might have been lured into an ambush, but today he brought 30 of his boys along for the party, slinging his weapon over his shoulder. Fei Long steps forward and asks, "Well, you ready to die?" Fei Hu just laughs and says that when he chops his head off, he better scream loud enough for him to hear. Just then, a tiny insect buzzes past and a notification pops up on everyone's phones. The Bloody Guild had just started a live stream. The leader's voice booms out, welcoming all the lucky ones. They were just in time to catch their broadcast. Fei Hu grins at the camera, saying they're about to show everyone how to tear a man to shreds. The viewer count jumps to 212 and the chat starts going wild. Bruh, the Blood Guild ganking newbies on stream again. Wow, 30 guys against 1. Who is this unlucky dude who crossed their path? Someone else types, wait, I think I know him. He's kinda hot. Shame he's about to get deleted. But our protagonist just scoffs at them. You guys are just errand boys. You're not even a decent warm-up. Since you all came here looking for death, I guess I'll just have to kill you again. The livestream comments absolutely explode. No cap, this guy's got guts. He said again. He thinks he's the main character, lol. Wait till he gets wrecked. Phylong, totally triggered, just screams, "Kill him!" And the entire group of fighters rushes forward. One of the mages fires off a lightning spell, and an archer takes aim yelling that he needs to die. At that exact moment, the system announces that a malicious attack has been detected. A 15-minute retaliation window is now open. Killing any of his attackers within that time won't affect his sin level at all. Our hero plants his sword in the ground, a smirk playing on his lips. 15 minutes. That's enough time to kill you clowns 3 times over. Zombie army, it's time to come out and play. In the next second, his undead legion bursts from the ground, filling the battlefield. He waves a hand dismissively at the incoming spell. You call that pathetic spark lightning. He easily bats away the electric charge like it's a fly, then points forward, ordering his thunder scorpion to poison them all. The scorpion instantly lunges, piercing one of the attackers with its massive stinger. A second later, the leader of the Bloody Guild is shouting, "Attention, everyone! Warriors fall back and defend mages, bandits, and archers. Open fire now!" At his command, they all start gathering their magical energy, preparing for a full-scale assault. As the shouting match intensified, one of the mages decided to end it, channeling a massive electrical charge into his staff and unleashing it. It shot straight for our hero's army, just as a volley of arrows rained down, piercing through their ranks. The viewer count immediately tanked, dropping from 212 to 168. The chat was ruthless, saying this level 8 elite team was a joke. They roasted him, saying he's getting clapped by a simple summon and that he's just another wannabe trying to flex. They even started placing bets. They were literally gambling on how many seconds our guy would last. That's when Phylong stood up and spoke. He scoffed, asking who cares if the guy can summon undead. He boasted that even if the MC brought out that huge brute from before, they'd tear them all to shreds. Feihu chimed in, guaranteeing our protagonist wouldn't see the next sunrise. But our boy just grinned and asked, "You sure about that?" The leader's face hardened when he saw that smile. A split second later, one of the mages stepped forward and let out a terrified scream as the sand beneath his feet turned to liquid. It was forming a massive vortex that started sucking all the players down into the abyss. While getting dragged under, one of the mages spotted the kobold chieftain barreling towards him and shrieked in horror as the monster went on a rampage. It tore through everything in its path. The guild members were screaming for their lives, and their leaders were completely stunned. The spectator count skyrocketed to 302. The chat was going ballistic, writing, "What is happening?" and "An attack from underground." They couldn't believe it, saying, "His undead have teamwork," and "Who called this dude a newbie who said he was gonna get wrecked?" Now they were the only ones getting absolutely bodied. The whole chat was laughing their asses off, until one of the mages screamed a warning. He yelled that there was poison, and they had to cleanse the wounds before trying to heal, but it was too late. A powerful blast of magical energy erupted from our protagonist and slammed right into them. Then in a flash, our MC whipped out his sword and ran an attacker through, who cried out in total disbelief. The guy sputtered, asking how he even knew he was there. Our MC shot back that he wasn't dumb enough to fall for someone hiding in the sand. The survivors started to panic, screaming he was too strong, all the tanks were dead, and that they needed to run. Just then Feihu, his face a mask of pure fury, roared, "Damn it! You're all a bunch of useless idiots!" He lunged forward, shouting that he'd kill the MC himself. But our MC was ready, channeling raw power into his blade and aiming it forward, yelling for him to get a taste of this. Countless ghostly skulls shot out from the blade as he unleashed the Green Soul Curse. Feihu froze solid. He stared in absolute terror, barely managing a "what the?" Our protagonist flew past him, shouting, "Execute!" He casually walked by the paralyzed Feihu and started a countdown. 2, 1. The next second, Feihu's entire body exploded, taking out everything around him in a massive blast. The protagonist rested his hand on the hilt of his sword, coolly remarking that his old friend really came in handy. The viewer count had blown up to 558. The chat was spamming things like, "That dude paid for what?" and "The boss talked all that smack," and ended up turning himself into a human firework. Someone typed, "He wanted to tear him to pieces, and now he's the one in pieces." The irony was delicious. Another wrote, "He needs a servant, he makes a great cheerleader." Just then, the broadcast system announced that Feihu had physically logged out of the stream. Hearing the cries for help, the last man standing wondered if he was hallucinating. It had only been a couple of days, but now it felt like he was facing down a literal demon. At that moment, our MC turned his gaze on him, and the leader of the Bloody Guild let out a pathetic scream. He was on his knees begging him not to end him. Our protagonist walked right up to him and said, "Now it's your turn to understand what real despair feels like." With those words, he drove his sword forward straight through Fei Long's head. He declared it was over, then pointed his hand at the tiny insect. He added that he almost forgot about that little pest. A small explosion popped in the sky. "Ah," he said, "it's so quiet here now." Sometime later, in a fancy skyscraper, some people were chatting, asking why the hell their boss caused that whole disaster. "A streaming glitch," one asked. Another wanted to know who the MC was, saying he's unbelievably strong, and that he personally saw him kill it. He swore he witnessed it with his own 2 eyes and asked where the guy was now wanting to meet him. It looked like he was in the Rocky Desert. The Mercenary Guild had already sent him an S-class invitation. Right then, Feihu slammed his drink down and said one word, UN. In the immortal world, Quincy was just kicking back against a barrel. Our MC walked in, took one look at him, and let out a sigh. He thought to himself, "It's this guy again. I'm not training him, I've got enough money, and I low-key don't want to do anything today." The protagonist walked up to him anyway, saying he just wanted a word. At that exact moment, a system notification popped up. It canceled his stealth class. The next second, Quincy dropped a pot, shattering it on the ground. His face twisted with absolute rage. He demanded to know if the MC was a soul reaper, gritting his teeth in pure anger. He snarled, asking how long it had been since a soul reaper had the nerve to approach him. As he spoke, he began gathering energy in the palm of his hand. With zero chill, he then unleashed a devastating volley that obliterated all the barrels and sent a hail of shrapnel flying right at our protagonist. But MC dodged it like it was nothing, and before Quincy could even process what happened, our boy was right in his face, weapon at the ready. He was basically like, "So, are we going to talk now?" To which Quincy shot back, "What could you possibly want?" That's when MC recalled Douglas's warning. See, way back in the day when the Lord of Darkness had everyone on lockdown, the immortal world was stuck in a non-stop nightmare. To try and fix things, Quincy and his wife went head-to-head with the Dark Lord. They took on his most loyal supporter, and in the insane battle that followed, the Soul Reaper was defeated. But not before he slapped a nasty curse on Quincy's wife as she was healing him. Her soul was just completely devoured by darkness, erasing all her memories and twisting her into a monster for good. To save his wife and break the curse, he needed to suppress the darkness inside her soul. But Quincy was so wrecked from the fight, he could barely even hold his own sword. Everyone expected him to just waste away mourning his wife, but instead he dropped a bombshell of a secret mission. Whoever could save her would inherit his entire fortune. And get this, the Soul Reaper is the key to shattering the darkness, thanks to some miracle power he got from the now-dead Reaper. Quincy's plan was low-key to play anyone who was greedy enough to take the reward. He wanted to save his wife, while making all the Reapers pay for what they did. The only problem, all 158 people who tried the mission never returned. So our MC asks him for the deets on the mission. Quincy closes his eyes and is just like, "Fine, since you're asking," adding that he was expecting company anyway. He mentioned wanting to play a game with his beloved, and right on cue a system notification popped up. Quincy's mission has been detected. It asked if he wanted to participate. The mission was called Dead Wife's Soul, and the goal was to free Quincy's wife. He had to calm her soul within 10 days, and it was a silver-level mission. Without even hesitating, our protagonist accepted. He then turned and walked to the exit, and Quincy wished him good luck, as if he actually meant it. The moment he was gone, though, Quincy cracked a smug smile, wondering if the kid would even be able to crawl back with all his limbs attached. A little while later, our MC finds himself at the monument to the fallen north of Duststone City, making his way down a creepy corridor. He chugs a night vision elixir with his own personal zombie squad following close behind. He pauses around a corner, thinking things through. Turns out the monument to the fallen is a massive 5-floor structure. It's basically the final resting place for all the NPCs from the city. And right on cue, a zombie bursts from its coffin and charges at him. But his scorpion summon easily takes it down with a single sting. Our MC thinks to himself that, yeah, resurrected monsters like zombies are pretty common here. You've got skeletons and ghosts too, and the monsters get way tougher the higher you climb. The first floor is usually crawling with level 1 to 3 zombies. The second has level 4 to 6 skeletons, and the third is infested with level 7 to 9 ghosts. As for the fourth floor, level 10 ghouls. A moment later, they arrive at a portal, and our protagonist is like, "All right, let's do this." He decides they should just skip straight to the action on the fourth floor. Once they get there, our hero moves forward on high alert. He calls out that he hears noises up ahead, and just then a ghoul pops its wall-walking skill, while several others activate Frozen Tear. The system pings Ghoul Elite level 10. It's got 2000 HP, 400 attack, 40 defense, and a nasty list of skills like Rot Infected Bite and Wall Walking. As a ghoul charges him, it activates the Rot Infected Bite skill, aiming to take a chunk out of our boy. But the protagonist just yells, "Bring it on," as his scorpion summon unleashes its earth-splitting claw skill. It smashes one ghoul aside with a powerful strike, before whipping its tail around and sending several more flying. Our MC channels his energy and rockets forward, shouting, "Strike!" as he absolutely demolishes the ghoul in front of him. He doesn't stop blasting forward again, in the next instant tearing through a whole pack of ghouls at once. Noticing one last ghoul just looking up at him, he smirks and says he almost forgot about him, right before stomping on its head. The system alerts him that he's leveled up to 12. Looking at the carnage, he thinks to himself that it's all over. That was even faster than he expected. It's too bad his monster revival spell only works on normal bodies. It's completely useless against zombies. Suddenly he feels a surge of energy behind him and whips around just as a massive beam of magic blasts the wall. MC barely leaps out of the way, shouting, "What the hell?" But it's too late. In the next second, the beam of energy completely swallows him. And just like that, he gets teleported to a completely different location. Our protagonist skids to a stop on the ground and takes a look around, spotting a creepy capsule suspended in the air and bound by chains. He wonders aloud if this is a new location. Inside the capsule, a vengeful ghost laughs manically and licks her lips. She hisses that he's finally arrived, and in the next second, the entire capsule shatters into a million tiny pieces. The chains break along with it as she hangs in the air, whispering about fresh blood. The system starts screaming alerts, "Vengeful Ghost Lord." 6000 HP, 800 attack, 200 defense and skills like Death Flower, Succubus Roar, and Body Explosion. Our protagonist immediately realizes, this has to be the 5th floor. At that exact moment, the ghost screams she's gonna tear him to shreds and lunges, but he ain't phased, deflecting her attack with his blade. The system dings, announcing the Death Flower skill has been activated, and suddenly a bunch of gnarly tendrils shoot out from her legs. But our MC is too slick, easily weaving past them while thinking poisonous acid. He then tells her straight up that such basic tactics are totally useless against him. Backing up his words, he unleashes a flurry of slashes, dicing up every single tendril she sends his way, which makes the ghost let out a blood-curdling shriek. She glares daggers at him as another system alert pops up. The boss just triggered her Succubus Roar skill, and our MC is bracing himself. He thinks, an area of effect skill? Nah, hold up. She's summoning something. All the while, the unholy roar keeps echoing through the entire... Then our protagonist's brow furrows as he glances to the side, spotting a skeletal hand clawing its way up from the dirt. He wonders if these are the buried NPCs from the Duststone Hail, especially when he sees several more of them rising from their graves. And then it hits him, it's not just the NPCs, but also the players who completely failed Quincy's quests. He mutters, "Damn it, she's trying to bring them all back." The army of the dead just keeps growing, and he's like, looks like there's a whole other squad of skeletons waiting behind that door. He didn't think this boss's only trick was animating skeletons, so he orders his own undead squad to push forward, pointing to the side. He gives the command to block the doorway, and his kobolds immediately obey as a plan forms in his mind. He's gonna let his own undead army keep the small fry busy for a minute. Then he points forward and orders the Bloodlust status to be activated. A second later, the system confirms it, Bloodlust status activated, and the kobold's eyes start glowing with pure unbridled rage. Our MC yells out, "Kobold Chieftain Thunder Scorpion, get her." They instantly obey, and the system announces the earth-cleaving claw has been activated. The freaking ground cracks open, a fissure racing toward the boss, while the chieftain uses his crushing strike skill. He lunges, but the boss just floats up into the air. She dodges his attack, then frowns and glances at the ceiling as rocks begin to fall, forcing her to zip back and forth to avoid getting crushed. MC watches her moves and thinks to himself, right ghosts are spiritual monsters. They can phase right through solid objects, and they're built different against physical attacks, he thinks as he starts concentrating energy around his body. He smirks and says, "But I can dish out double physical damage." The next second, he unleashes his attack straight at her. A bunch of glowing skulls rocket towards her as he shouts out that he's using the curse of the green soul. The ghost starts zipping around, and he can't help but think she's gotten way faster. He knows those NPCs could bust out of the tomb at any second. He realizes he needs to finish this fight quickly, so he pulls out a ring and says he's got to restrict her movement. The next instant, he clenches the ring in his fist, and the system reports, "Equipped ring of paralysis, type silver jewelry." The item's effects pop up AHP plus 10, magic plus 100, agility plus 15, intelligence plus 15, and a bonus skill called paralytic toxin. Paralytic toxin gives him a chance to completely paralyze his target for 3 whole seconds whenever he attacks. It's only a 5% chance, but that's all he needs. Our MC rushes forward and immediately activates the extra skill. "Paralytic toxin," he shouts as he strikes, and the boss's entire body freezes up. The system confirms the skill hit. Then our MC readies his sword again, saying, "And that's not all." He sends another attack flying forward that knocks the boss for a loop. As he lands smoothly on the ground, the ghost comes crashing down. He thinks to himself, not bad at all. After just one solid hit from the curse of the green soul, her speed has already been nerfed. He then throws his hand forward and yells, "Wolf roar!" The giant wolf unleashes its skill, sending a powerful sound wave across the room, and the system reports that the target has been stunned. Our protagonist smirks, saying, "Even if this effect only lasts for 5 seconds, that's more than enough time for me." Then he just starts wailing on her, swinging his sword and asking, "I wonder how many of these you can take." Her HP bar absolutely plummets while she screams in agony. But the system alerts him that the boss has just activated her Dead Man's Explosion skill in the next second. A massive explosion thunders through the area, taking a huge chunk of the protagonist's undead army with it. At that moment, he's digging his sword into the ground just to stay put, thinking a dead man's explosion. This psycho wants to blow up the NPC zombies just to make the whole tomb collapse. He can see his zombie army has already been cut down by a third. "Okay, this is serious," he says. "It's time to finish her off." He charges straight ahead, shouting that she's about to perish. "No," she screams back, just as the system reports that the boss is almost toast. 300 horsepower, 200 horsepower, 100 horsepower, 30 horsepower. Then her body just starts to dissolve into nothing, and the system confirms that he has killed the evil spirit and gained a sweet 800 experience points. He walks forward, asking himself if it's all really over. He turns around and sees a new ghost who looks at him and says she's grateful for his help. "You brave man," she says, and in the very next moment, he held out his right hand, and just like that, an item materialized in his palm. The system chimed in Beloved's ring. This was a quest item, so it couldn't be reset or sold. A little note mentioned Quincy gave this engagement ring to his wife as a token of their love. Our MC glanced at it thinking, "Seriously, that's all?" But then his eyes caught a book lying right in front of him, and he blurted out, "Whoa, what's this?" What Yuen didn't realize was that the gnarly skill, Dead Explosion, was supposed to be exclusive to Soul Reapers. The system laid out the training requirements for him. It seems because this particular ghost was sealed by a super loyal servant of the Dark King, the rules got a little bent. The system also let him know the skill book was basically being downloaded directly into his brain. As our boy held the book, a whole bunch of bright lights erupted, lighting up the entire room. The book in his palm started glowing, and suddenly beams of light shot out, flooding the whole space. All of a sudden, a system notification popped up. Dead Explosion Gold Level 1. Its main effect, a zombie explosion that deals a solid 60% fire damage to any enemies nearby. The kicker is, it only works when the player's health is at 100%. It costs 100 mana, has a 10-second cooldown, and needs 100 mastery. Yuan started thinking he could totally use this skill to sacrifice his own zombies. The damage and the sheer attack range were insane, something he absolutely hadn't seen coming. A little while later, surrounded by dust and rubble, Quincy stared ahead, completely floored, wondering if this was the very same engagement ring he had given her. A soul that's been sealed away doesn't have any memories, you see. It's only when they're finally set free that their memories come flooding back, making them discard what they once held most precious. He just needed to know, did she pass away without any trouble? He asked if she was in pain. Our protagonist simply confirmed she wasn't. With the ring clutched in his hand, Quincy examined it with a heavy heart. He pictured her face, and with a voice cracking with emotion and tears welling up, he whispered that this was for the best. He couldn't believe that a soul reaper, a being he despised, would be the one to grant his final wish. He promised he would never ever forget this kindness. After saying his piece, he bowed deeply before our protagonist, and just then a box appeared in his hand. It was time to make good on his promise. Inside this box was a very special crown. The system pinged it as the Crown of Darkness, a totally unique item. It's a helmet, and its first effect is to completely hide the user's sin level. Effect number 2 masks your dark aura. The system added a note that this unique Soul Reaper gear can't be sold or destroyed. No cap. Yuen checked out the item. It was definitely the Crown of Darkness, and even though that was all it did, those attributes were clutch. This was exactly what he needed right now. With this crown hiding his sin level and dark aura, he could finally take down the Scorpion Tail Order. He could do pretty much whatever he wanted in the main city. The system then prompted him asking if he wanted to equip the Crown of Darkness. Yun shot back with a confident, yes. Immediately magical rays swirled around his body. He was finally one step closer to uncovering the truth. Sometime later, he rolled into Sanwin City. This place was packed with guilds, big and small, all of them shouting and trying to recruit new members. Some dude was even screaming that you could see their leader do a backflip if you joined. Guild recruitment was in full swing with calls for anyone who wanted to throw down. There were a ton of invites from different guilds, but Yuen was only interested in the heavy hitters. He pulled up the system window. It broke down all the guilds by rank. There were only 10 major ones, and he had a hunch his target was hiding in one of them. He's just a newbie rolling into the city of Sanwin, so getting into one of these top-tier guilds wasn't going to be a walk in the park. He knew he had to figure out a way in. As he was walking through the city, Yuen suddenly whipped around a corner. He brought his foot down with a loud stomp. In the dead silence, an armored knight heard the unexpected noise. The knight's whole body tensed up. He froze and Yuen slid up right behind him, pressing his sword against him. Yuen's voice was terrifyingly low as he asked, "Who are you?" The young man was completely stunned by the question and just stood there speechless. Finally, he snapped out of it, spun around and yelled with pure joy, "God, Yuen, it's actually you." Qing threw his arms out for a hug, but since Yuen had already sidestepped him, my man just face-planted right onto the ground. Yuen, unfazed, asked again, "Is it really him?" Qing, still on the floor, called him a god again. He was totally shocked that Yuen even remembered him. Yuen stepped closer, pressing the question, "You know my name?" Qing immediately scrambled to his feet. He pointed a thumb at his own chest and shouted happily that he'd seen him on the Bloody Guild stream. He claimed he'd read like 1,000 comments about him and then dropped 2 million to upgrade his corporate facial recognition system, just to be 100% sure it was really him. He was totally expecting Yuen to be impressed, but our MC just deadpanned, "Mvami ibi 2 million tsir. You for real spent that much cash just to track me down?" Qing looked confused, asking if that was supposed to be a lot of money. The Han Corporation apparently drops around 100 million on a single system test. Our MC's mind was racing. Han Corporation, the IT company, the one with a $1 trillion budget that supplies the entire world with new tech. This kid is part of that. He wondered just how much this guy knew. Maybe he should just end him right here. But suddenly Qing yelled out, "God, Yuen, let me team up with you." Word on the street is, the S-Class representatives are planning a hunt in Bloodscale Cave tomorrow. Apparently someone stumbled upon a nest of iron-eating iguanas, and they just need to. But before he could finish, the guy tripped on a rock and totally ate it on the ground, right in front of our MC. The protagonist just turns and tells him to get lost and stop tailing him. Why should he have to babysit this clown? Qing just laughs and says he's right. A powerhouse like him doesn't need a squad, since he can solo all the monsters himself. Plus, a third team from the Ebony Guild is going to be out there hunting for fresh talent, and if he performs well, they might just recruit him. Our MC glances at his system window, seeing the Ebony Guild is ranked a measly 10th place. Jing says with a sigh that it looks like he'll have to go it alone. But then out of nowhere, the protagonist speaks up again. He asks when the hunt is supposed to happen. Jing whips around, absolutely stoked, shouting about what he just heard. Yuen repeats his question about the start time, and Jing yells back that it's tomorrow at 8 in the morning, asking if this means he's actually gonna join. The dude runs up even closer, throwing his hands up in excitement again, until the protagonist just puts a hand on his face to stop him. He tells the guy to call him Ling Yuan, and that either way, he needs to get ready first. A little while later, a thick smokescreen starts to fill the air. Over at the camp of the vulture thieves, a massive fiery explosion suddenly goes off, and Yuan announces that the boss should be right up ahead. He's surrounded by the wreckage of countless monsters he's already taken down as he checks out his system window. It confirms they're level 12 zombies from the vulture thieves with 1,600 health, 250 attack. They also have 70 defense and skills like sickle throw and resurrection. As expected, our protagonist finds himself completely swarmed once again by a horde of griffins. He decides it's time to throw down, clenching his fist to get ready for the fight, when suddenly a bunch more griffins crash the party. Screeching like crazy, Yuan just extends a hand, and with zero chill declares, "Attack!" unleashing his magic to kick things off. The system notifies him that he's activated his sickle throwing skill, and his weapon goes flying toward his enemies. It smashes into the ground, shattering them to bits. One of the griffins is so shocked, its mouth hangs open, giving him a perfect opening. Getting right behind it, the protagonist smacks the creature with his sword and yells that he's about to end their miserable lives. The system reports that he's destroyed the leader of the thieves' gang, and 3 griffins followed immediately by 3 more. That brings the total body count to 10 griffins destroyed. When he finally stops, he gives the throne in front of him a confused look. He's just realized that the main griffin boss has vanished into thin air. The system then updates him on the leader of the vulture thieves. Turns out he's a level 19 lord with 6,200 health, 820, attack 220, defense and skills, including sickle throw. It also has stealth and backstab, and the backstab skill had just been triggered. The protagonist instantly clocks what's happening and uses his powers. He activates the dead man's explosion skill, then roars at the monsters to just die already as eerie green beams erupt from his eyes. Just moments later, a massive explosion rips through the whole area, effortlessly smoking his opponents. After a blast, that huge one of the griffins lets out a piercing shriek, and our protagonist is already on the move. He's already zeroing in on his next opponent. He activates his shadow gloves and slams a fist straight into the griffin's chest. He shouts that he's sending it on a one-way trip to hell. A second later, several more blinding explosions of light go off. The system confirms that he's finally killed the Lord of the Vulture Thieves. It's finally over, and the system congratulates him on leveling up to 13. He gets a new skill, Dark Curse, a level 3 gold item. It deals 20% damage and restores 20% of the zombie's health to the enemy. This thing costs 60 mana and has a 60-second cooldown. He also got Dead Explosion, a level 2 gold item that detonates a zombie dealing fire damage equal to 80% of its health. It needs 100 mana, has a 10-second cooldown, and is currently at a mastery level of 2 out of 100. After carefully reading the system window, the protagonist just stands there for a moment, completely still. The system then asks if he wants to use a skill upgrade. He answers with a confident yes, then strikes a pensive pose and notes that the effect is actually pretty solid. He then whips out a skill enhancement scroll to boost the level of Dark Curse. He's now cranked it up to level 3 and has also improved Corpse Explosion. His zombie army is looking pretty stacked right now. He's now got 130 zombies, including a level 15 zombie leader of the Vulture Thieves, with 3,500 health and 500 attack. It also has 100 defense and skills like Heart Throw Stealth and Resurrection, which appears before him again. After that, a zombie leader of the Vulture Thieves shows up, level 19, 6,200, health, 820, attack 220, defense, and all the same skills. On top of his sickle throw and stealth resurrection, he's now got poisonous claws that stack an extra 20 points of poison damage. Our MC was checking out the system when it hit him. He'd actually revived the leader of a whole gang of thieves. Plus, he's got this vulture's skill. He remembered that when he resurrected the giant Death Wolf, he unlocked Resurrection Fury. His brain started spinning. What if rezzing an Island Lord class baddie gave him another totally unique skill? The idea was low-key fire. Just then, the system pinged the hunt kicks off in 2 hours. A grin spread across his face as he decided it was time to prep. A little while later, a massive sound rips through the Bloodscale cave. Suddenly, a blinding light flashes right in front of our protagonist. It's so bright he has to cover his face, asking his buddy if he's cosplaying a Golden Knight statue. Ching just says he dropped 50 gold coins on it. He'd hired a blacksmith to forge this superpowered gear and told our MC to relax. Ching swore he wouldn't be a liability, and then no cap his belt snaps and his pants drop right to his ankles. Our boy just squeezes his eyes shut, dying of secondhand embarrassment. Ching is frozen for a solid second, completely stunned. Then Yuan points out that this is his first time seeing armor that comes in separate pieces, calling it pretty unique. Confused Ching shoots back. He says the blacksmith swore up and down it was the latest and greatest design. Then he accidentally pulls his helmet down over his eyes and starts screaming that he can't see. He's flailing around begging for help, while Yuan just watches this train wreck. Suddenly Ching trips over our protagonist's foot. With a loud yell, he starts falling and smacks right into someone else's armor with a loud clank. When he finally looks up, he sees an absolute unit of a man glaring down at him. The guy cracks a smile and asks, "You hurt?" It's Kui, and the system flags him as part of the Ebony Guild. He's the level 15 warrior class leader of their third team. The moment Ching sees him, he starts to panic, wondering what's up. The dude's smiling, but Ching feels like a predator is sizing him up for dinner. He's wondering if it's all in his head when our MC suddenly grabs his armor. He yanks Ching back and out of the way. Our boy asks, "You gonna take off that ridiculous armor already or what?" Ching just scratches the back of his head sheepishly. "Yeah, probably a good idea." He grins. Kiwi is just watching this whole clown show with a bewildered smirk, when suddenly, our MC catches his gaze and immediately tenses up. In his head, Kui is absolutely fuming, thinking, "Who the hell is this scrub to be staring me down?" He's getting seriously irritated when someone yells out asking which one of them is Han Ching. The guy checks some papers and a photo. He points a finger right at Ching and shouts, "Is that him? Why does he look so damn weird?" The whole team just explodes with laughter, roasting his entire getup. They're clowning on the shiny gold armor, asking if Ching thinks he's at some high-end cosplay convention. Ching just waves back and says, "Yep, that's me." Then he turns to the intimidating guy. He's like, "You guys are the big shots from the Ebony Guild, right? By the way, I just wanted to say hey to my boy over here." The leader steps up, putting the tip of his sword right in Ching's face. He tells him that's enough talk. He says they couldn't care less what the newbies are called, but they better remember something. The reason they were allowed to tag along had nothing to do with some double tax rule. It was purely because their captain was feeling generous. Yuan frowns but stays silent as Kui asks what his teammate is doing. The guy says they're just instilling some respect, but Kui tells him to chill, saying he was just joking about their captain. After that, he puts his sword away and warns them not to get cocky just because their captain's a nice guy. He tells them they better take this opportunity with gratitude. You get me? Ching just nods his head a bunch of times. He promises they'll do everything they can. Then another guild member claps his hands loudly. He shouts for everyone to get back into their positions. He announces that they're about to start roll call. Another player, Andre, looks incredibly nervous. He can't believe he's actually teaming up with members of the main guild. Yuan starts to wonder if these are the players who take on S-rank hunts. His teammate is just hoping the fight doesn't get him killed mid-raid. Jens was thinking, does this guy really think we're all just fresh noobs? Just then the captain is the first to enter the cave. He says since everyone's here and they're short on time, they need to get ready. ASAP. He tells them not to worry though. He boasts that even death itself would turn tail and run from the Ebony Guild, so they're completely safe. The rest of the guild started hyping up their captain, shouting and getting ready to follow his lead. Suddenly, one of the dudes spotted Ching. He was just standing there holding a red flag, so the guy yoinked. It started waving it around and yelled for Yuan to get a move on. He'd heard that some nasty slime monsters were lurking in this cave. The kid glanced back, wondering if Ching seriously thought they were on a damn picnic. Our MC just trailed behind the team with a sly grin, catching a whiff of that absolutely foul stench in the air. A little while later, they pushed deeper into the Bloodscale cave, ending up at a fork in the path. So far, they hadn't run into a single iron biter. But that wasn't a huge surprise since those things are basically nocturnal. They're only active at night and lay low during the day, so they were probably hiding way deeper inside the cave. One of the guild members turned to the captain asking which way they should go. The captain just smirked and gave his reply. He told them it'd be way better if they split up right now. The guys immediately got nervous, their faces looking totally shook. They started asking if splitting up was really a good idea, 'cause isn't that super dangerous? Like, what if they ran into a level 16 elite monster? One of the guys told everyone to just chill out. He explained that their captain had already scouted the cave to make sure it was safe. Apparently, he and his crew had already explored the whole place, and were just kicking back before the rest of them showed up. Another knight asked for confirmation. Like, did the captain really check everything beforehand? Kai just smiled and said, "No cap, it's true." He explained that based on their power levels, the middle path was wide open, but you could smell the pheromones of iron gnashers all over it. So, yeah, going that way was hella risky. while the other paths were completely safe. But you know how it is, the more dangerous the spot, the better the chance of finding some seriously valuable loot. So, to balance out the risk and reward, he decided his main squad would take the middle path, and the rest of them could handle the two side paths. He then asked them what they thought. The newbies started gushing, saying it was no wonder their guild was considered the top dog. I mean, their captain was just so thorough and cautious. This guy was the third captain in the Ebony Guild, and was on a whole other level than them, so what he said went. That's when our protagonist raised a single finger. He just straight up announced that they'd be taking the left path. We immediately spun around and repeated it for everyone. We're taking the left path. The other guys just kind of went along with it. Then one of them started wondering who was going to team up with them, asking who would go with Ching and Yuan. The dudes started debating. One of them pointed out that Ching's gear looked kind of weird, but in a way that made him seem pretty reliable. And while Yuan was low-key a total pretty boy, they were arguing over who should get to stick with him when Kui suggested they just go by themselves. Unfortunately, even though he was the head captain, he couldn't actually force anyone to join their party. Yuan turned to Ching and was like, "All right, let's roll." As the two of them walked off, the captain just watched them go with a smirk and muttered, "What a bunch of idiots." A little while later, water started dripping from the cave ceiling. Ching turned to Yuan feeling a little uneasy. He said it was getting colder and colder, and that something felt seriously off. He also had this creepy feeling like he was being watched, and that feeling was getting more intense with every step. Yuan just casually asked if he was only now starting to figure it out. He confirmed that something was definitely in here. Ching whipped around and shouted, "What? But wait!" Captain Kui said he checked everything. He said it was safe here. Yuan just turned back with a little smile. He asked Ching if he really trusted that guy so easily. This was supposed to be an S-rank hunt, but there were way too many newbies around. It was painfully obvious they were being used as cannon fodder to test out the different paths. Ching asked again, "Then why me?" But before he could finish, our protagonist cut him off, finishing the question for him. "Why didn't I sell you guys out?" Then he suddenly snatched a slime off the cave wall. He chucked it deep into the darkness and said it was pure coincidence. He wanted to check things out for himself, too. All of a sudden, the guys froze. A loud booming sound echoed from somewhere deep inside the cave's darkness. They realized they could probably score a ton of good stuff in here. And right at the end of the cave, a pair of glowing red eyes flickered to life. The system pinged them, Ironbiter's Elite Class Level 16, 3,300 health, 4,400 attack, 100 defense, skills Irontail Strike, and Rusty Shield. The Ironbiters shot their long tongues out and began crawling straight for them. Back with the main group, one of the team members slammed his sword into the ground, yelling for them to get ready to burn. Instantly, the entire area was engulfed in a blazing inferno. The monsters were caught right in the middle of the fiery blast. Suddenly, one of the creatures got stabbed right through the gut. A sword sliced it clean in half, and the boy screamed for it to get a taste of his power. Another guild member turned to the captain. He commented that their little sacrifice was doing a great job attracting the monsters and even weakening their overall strength. This was making things a whole lot easier. Kai couldn't believe it. Did they really fall for his plan that easily? He just laughed at how clueless they were. Kai then continued saying that once most of the newbies were dead, the monsters in the other caves would all be drawn over here. They'd just wait for someone to be knocking on death's door, then swoop in and snag all the loot, basically doubling their score with zero effort. Meanwhile, Ching's face is scrunched up in pure terror, wondering, "Bruh, who are these psycho monsters even screaming at stir?" A system notification pops up. The Iron Tail Strike skill just went live. Basically, it's a hard-hitting metal attack. It slams the enemy with damage, based on a percentage of their own attack power, though the exact number's a secret. Then, boom, the Scimitar Throw skill activates. This lets him yeet his weapon at a target up to 10 meters away, and the best part is, he can call it right back. The throw itself dishes out a solid 60% of his attack power and damage. On top of that, his stealth skill kicks in, turning him practically see-through. It seriously lowers the odds of any enemy spotting him. And that's not all. The backstab skill is now active, which is exactly what it sounds like, a sneak attack from the rear. That move hits for a nasty 80% of his attack power. Ching absolutely loses it, screaming, since when could he just summon a whole zombie squad? From Ching's perspective, this whole setup was next level, even topping that wild fight back in the swamp. It was just insane. Yuan then chimes in with another question. He asks, didn't he just say he needed to get ready? Ching just starts yelling, completely baffled. Wait, He summoned this entire army in less than a day. The system chimes in announcing that all 55 of the elite ironbiters have been wiped out. Our protagonist just gives a nod and says they did a good job. And Ching is just watching low-key jealous, wondering when he'll ever be on that level. But then a weird noise cuts through the silence. His first thought is that an earthquake? He instinctively screams Yuen's name, but then catches himself remembering the guy's in the middle of something. He figures he should probably go check it out himself. Ching really doesn't want to be a bother. He's got to pull his own weight too. As he turns to look, he starts thinking. The sound seems like it's coming from that sketchy dark corner of the cave. But then it just stops dead. He's left wondering if the ground's even shaking anymore, when out of nowhere a massive vine erupts from the floor, launching Ching sideways. He lands hard and just stares in pure shock as this monster's gigantic tongue starts flailing all over the place. Ching has no clue what's even happening. He tries to get his guard up and ready for a fight, but the vine suddenly shoves him backward. He hits the deck and starts screaming for help. Before he can do anything else, the vine wraps around his entire body and hoists him up into the air. This just makes Ching scream even louder in total panic, but then a brilliant green flash of light cuts through the darkness right in front of him. In a single swift motion, our MC slices that overgrown plant into a bunch of pieces. He declares that it's nothing special, just some beast that's been hiding deep underground munching on dirt. How dare it try to pull these cheap tricks on me? Yuen scoffs. As the monster's blood splatters everywhere, he grabs Ching by the collar. He drags him back to a safe distance. Once they're clear, Ching clears his throat to speak. Yelling Yuen's name? He's basically freaking out saying that thing is no joke, a real monster, and they've got to book it out of there like yesterday. But just then the entire ground starts to splinter and crack apart into massive chunks, and Ching realizes it's way too late. The real monster erupts from the ground right in front of them, letting out a deafening roar. This thing is the boss. It's level 20 with 6,300 health, an attack power of 850 and 280 defense. Its skills: Iron Tail Strike, Impenetrable Fortress, and Earth Vein Penetration. Not to mention Poisonous Sand Vortex. Yuen and Ching are just frozen for a second, totally bewildered as they watch the monster move. Suddenly, Ching starts trembling and stammers out that the quest was supposed to be about some iron-biting iguana living in this cave. But this, he says, his voice shaking, He immediately starts apologizing to Yuen, feeling like it's his fault they're stuck in this nightmare scenario. He even offers to try and hold the monster off so Yuen can make a run for it, but Yuen just smirks and asks a question. You really think this thing is a terrible monster? In his eyes, this thing is just more prey. Ching's eyes go wide with shock as he tries to process that. Wait, what did he just say? He wonders. But there's no time to think, because the monster is suddenly charging right at them. Without a second of hesitation, our MC launches himself into the air, yelling at the beast to get ready to meet its maker. Ching screams his name, but it's no use. Yuen is already in the zone, starting to dismantle his opponent. He's moving like a blur, using his insane agility and every skill in his arsenal. He hurls a spinning blade straight at the monster, and the system dings with an update. The boss just activated its Iron Tail Strike skill. With that iron-plated tail, it completely absorbs the attack like it was nothing. Our boy realizes this monster is basically cheating, so he unleashes a heavenly spiritual seal, and the entire cave is flooded with a brilliant green flash of light. Yuen lands gracefully, eyeing the monster carefully. It's still on its feet and ready to throw down. Yuen can't help but wonder if his strike left any lasting burn damage on top of the initial hit. The monster lets out another massive roar and activates its Poisonous Sand Vortex skill. This thing kicks up a storm of toxic sand that damages you on impact. And it's not just the initial hit. It also applies a poison effect that drains anywhere from 3 to 10% of your max health every single second. The whole nasty skill lasts for 5 seconds. The beast cracks open its jaws, unleashing a gnarly blast of magic that just lights up the whole sky. Our MC's companion Ching screams its head off, telling Yuen to get the heck out of there. Just in the nick of time, Yuen dives out of the way. And where he was standing, now, it's just a massive smoking crater. Smoke's pouring out from the blast, and Yuen realizes this whole situation is way more hardcore than he bargained for. Next thing you know, the monster's iron-plated tail comes crashing down, but Yuen's too quick and leaps to safety. He's actually laughing, yelling that this is what makes a fight fun. He summons his Eagle Lord, but plot twist, his other undead monster decides to jump into the fray instead. With a massive roar, it's an all-out kaiju battle between the two behemoths. Ching is just gobsmacked, wondering if this absolute unit of an undead creature is seriously Yuan's new minion. The dude looks straight up majestic. The system pops up. Yuan's monster is using a backstab skill, but the boss iguana throws up its impenetrable fortress ability. That skill jacks its defense up by 150% for 10 seconds. Yuan's undead gets a hit in, but the lizard boss whips that iron tail around for a counterattack. Yuan yells at his boy to watch out as the tail slams right into his monster, and Ching just can't believe it. No way that reaction time is cracked, he thinks. Does this thing have eyes in the back of its head or something? He starts running through everything he knows about lizards and remembers their eyes are pretty basic, mostly just for tracking changes in light. The second an enemy freezes up, it's hard for them to see him, but they're insane at detecting movement, and their hearing and sense of smell are next level. They can pick up on even the sneakiest enemy. In fact, some of them even have infrared vision to see body heat. Because of all this, these scaly dudes are way more sensitive to an enemy's movements than any human. It looks like he'll have to set a trap to take this beast down. Our protagonist starts zipping around, landing a bunch of hits on the lizard. He's coming at it from all over the place. Then he starts taunting it, yelling, "Come on, let's see what's tougher, your scales or my fireballs." The monster lets out a furious roar, but then Yuan just turns tail and books it in the opposite direction. He knows the plan is working perfectly. He just needs to keep the boss's attention locked on him. Ching starts freaking out, yelling about how dangerous this is. He's screaming that the iguana's defense is too OP, that the fireballs won't even scratch it, and this whole thing is a suicide mission. Then Ching notices Yuan is sprinting straight towards a pile of corpses and is just stunned trying to process what's happening. As Yuan closes in on the bodies, Yuan cracks a smile knowing it's time to end this. He slams on the brakes just as the iguana finds itself, completely surrounded by all these dead monsters. Our MC smirks, wondering if this dumb beast even knows how to hit the brakes. The iguana roars with its mouth wide open, and Yuan basically tells it to enjoy the explosive buffet. And then the system chimes in, announcing he's activating his corpse explosion art skill. Suddenly, kaboom! Shrapnel flies everywhere. Yuan sees that the monster's armor has been totally shattered. A moment later, the iguana lets out a roar of pure agony. As it starts to collapse, Yuan launches himself high into the air, shouting for the Lord of the Eagles to flank it on the left. He's parkouring like a madman across the giant rocks. Realizing this lizard has another major weak spot, it can't see enemies on its left and right. But at the same time, the iguana charges right at him, but then his eagles dive in, striking the creature from behind. The lizard howls in pain as the whole area lights up with a ton of bright flashes from the attack. This next hit is going to send the iguana straight to the Shadow Realm. Yuan takes aim right at its weak spot, and a second later, the system announces that he has officially leveled up. Ding, welcome to level 14. The iguana is absolutely wrecked with smoke just pouring off its corpse. 5 minutes later, a system notification says his health is back up to 85%, and he checks out his Dark Curse skill. It's a gold level 3 that deals 20% damage or restores 20% health to an undead. It costs 60 mana and has a 6-second cooldown. The mastery is at 200 out of 300. Our boy figures if he just grinds a bit more, he can push Dark Curse to level 4. And even though Corpse Explosion spawned a ton of undead, he thinks leveling this skill up is totally worth it. Just then another system alert pops up. He's got a new summon Lord of the Dead Iguana Ironbiter. It's a level 20 beast with 6,300 health and an 850 attack stat. Its defense is 280, and its skills include Iron Tail Strike, Impenetrable Fortress, Earth Vein Penetration, Toxic Sand Vortex, and its Undead Body. From now on, this thing is going to be his personal tank. A second later, Ching is losing his mind with excitement, shouting that he's never ever seen so much loot drop at once. He asks if they should start counting up all their new goodies right now. Yin, looking super annoyed, shot back, "Bruh, what's the big rush? We still have to take out a few more of these rats." In the meantime, the commander's squad had just wrapped up their own successful fight, leaving the cave thick with the haze of battle. Ripping a chain from one of the fallen bodies, Kui smirked and declared that these guys were a total joke. He said those weaklings weren't even worth his time. One of his lackeys started sucking up laughing about how it was all due to their leader's genius strategy. The guy claimed that even a Lord-class monster wouldn't stand a chance against their captain. Based on how these things usually play out, The real fight was pretty. It was time for them to swoop in and claim the reward, so they started heading for the exit. Just as they were about to go collect the loot, a blinding flash of light exploded behind them, sending a shower of rocks flying everywhere. The captain whipped around as the entire team threw up their guards to defend against the barrage, which so far was only smashing into the ground. The captain started roaring, "Who's there? Who has the balls to ambush the Ebony Guild?" That's when Yuan and Qing emerged from the smoke right in front of them. They just appeared out of the thick, lingering haze. One of them coolly asked who was planning on collecting the bodies, suggesting they might handle it themselves. A guild member totally lost it, screaming that it was impossible. He shrieked that they were supposed to have been wiped out by a swarm of iron-biting iguanas. Shin just yelled back, disgusted by their audacity. He said it was just pathetic. He'd thought the Ebony Guild was supposed to be strong and honorable, but he never would have guessed they were the type to use other players as bait to clear dungeons. Another guild member just scoffed, "So what? It's an honor for scrubs like you to be stepping stones for our glory." The captain was absolutely stunned, his brain totally failing to process what was happening. How in the world did these two manage to survive? He was sure there were a ton of iguanas in that cave, and all of those monsters were supposed to be swarming those other unlucky saps. King shot back that they had absolutely zero shame. Kui, on the other hand, found himself getting weirdly angry the more he stared at Yuan. He decided this guy needed to be dealt with pronto. He had no clue what kind of insane luck they had on their side, or how they even survived, but he was sure their lucky streak was officially over. With that, he lunged at them, prompting the protagonist to yell for a retreat. Did this dude really think he could take them on all by himself? The captain just kept swinging his weapon like a madman. Our protagonist was forced to start blocking the wild attacks. Then all of a sudden he just stopped. The captain sneered, "What's this, some kind of childish game?" That's when our MC unleashed his spell, launching a swarm of skeletal heads straight at his opponents with a special delivery aimed right at the captain. Q.E. suddenly found himself inside a thick smoke screen, and as he was frantically looking around for Yuan, our boy appeared right behind him. He immediately pounced, taunting him. "Did you really think I'd be that obvious? You must be some kind of idiot." The captain just replied that his experience taught him that those who coast on luck alone always need to watch their backs. In a flash, he vanished from his spot. Yuan looked ahead, questioning what he saw, and realized he was suddenly all alone. He had no idea what was going on. That's when the captain reappeared right behind him, his face twisted into a horrifying sneer. He hissed that useless freaks like him are always destined to die, and swung at Yuan with everything he had. The attack created a brilliant beam of light that lit up the entire area. Qing screamed Yuan's name in terror, but one of the guild members just smirked at him. He taunted him, asking if he'd had enough of a warm-up, because now it was his turn. Qing stumbled backward as the captain stood over the downed protagonist. The captain said, "Excellent. I don't have time to mess with you. Now you should just accept your death." He charged at the protagonist with his fist clenched, but suddenly froze mid-attack, completely dumbfounded, asking what's going on. Juan was somehow on his feet, asking, "You're the leader of the Ebony Guild's third team, aren't you?" The captain couldn't figure out how he'd managed to get away. Yuan cracked a terrifying smile and said in a chilling voice that he finally understands the true power level of a main city guild. He had stopped the P's captain's attack cold by grabbing his arm. The captain's hands started to tremble as he cried out in agony. Yuan's eyes began to glow with a bright magical light, and in the next moment he just launched the captain across the cavern. The guy smashed through several rock formations before hitting the ground coughing and muttering that Yuan was a total monster. He admitted he'd underestimated him, then screamed at his crew, "Don't just stand there like statues, help me." His subordinates yelled that they were on it, and all three of them charged at Yuan, who just smiled at their pathetic attempt. He said, "Turns out you guys are just a bunch of clowns. Nothing interesting about you at all." A moment later, he flickered out of sight, activating his powers. He summoned a flock of spiritual eagles. The bony hands snatched up each guild member in their grip, and the captain's eyes widened as several skulls came flying right at him. He was completely paralyzed with fear, getting slammed and letting out a scream before he face-planted on the ground. But then he heard footsteps closing in. Looking up, he begged Yuan to chill out, warning him that if he got taken out, the Ebony Guild would make his life a living hell. He told Yuan to really think it through, but our MC just glanced over at Qing. The kid was clinging to his leg, looking up at him with total adoration, saying he always knew Yuan was built different. Yuan pushed Qing off, telling him to get lost, before raising his sword and laying down the law. He said from what he's heard, The Ebony Guild isn't just full of themselves with outsiders. They're straight up toxic to their own crew. He taunted the captain, asking what would happen if he died, lost his level, and his weapon. How would he possibly explain that mess to his guild? The captain finally broke, asking what it would take for Yuen to just leave him alone. Yuen laid out his terms. He wanted a complete list of all the high-ranking players in the Ebony Guild, including their classes levels and all their stats. You see, in his past life, the first follower used these insane skills that no one could wrap their head around. Nobody knew how to fight back, which means the guy has an incredibly rare hidden class, and Yuen still doesn't know his real identity. The captain dared to ask why he needed the list. For an answer, Yuen stabbed his sword right through the guy's hand, making him howl in agony. Then our protagonist just asked, "So, are you gonna write it or not?" With blood pouring from his hand, the captain screamed that he'd do it right away. Just a moment later, the list was finished. Our MC took the list and scanned it. So, these are all the so-called experts in the Ebony Guild. There are even a couple of special classes here, but none of the stats were a match for the first follower. The captain then asked, "Master, can we get out of here now?" Yuen turned with a cold smile and said sure, they could bounce. The goons immediately started thanking him. But then, plot twist, Yuen blasted them with bright beams of magic, yelling that they had to pay for all the innocent players they'd hurt. The system went crazy with notifications. He had just received the Moonwash Devil's Hammer. It was a silver tier weapon that came with a 45-point boost to attack power. On top of that, it gave him a 30-point boost to critical strikes and another 30-point boost to his base attack, the hammer's special skill. Energy release jacks up his first attack's speed by a solid 20%. He also got the Berserker Blade Dance. That one was a bronze tier weapon that buffed his attack by 30 and his accuracy by 20. Yuen also got a piece of bronze equipment, the Future Light. It was a sleep-type item that boosted both his magic damage and his spiritual power by 20. Yuen then looked over and saw Ching. The kid was holding up a chest, telling Yuen to check it out, since it was treasure they hadn't opened yet. Yen replied, "All right, I'll take first pick and you can have whatever's left." Ching immediately protested that it wasn't fair and offered to just buy everything from him. Yuen just shrugged and said to do what he wanted. He added that he didn't really need anything from it anyway. Ching said okay and instantly transferred the money. 54 gold coins hit his account a second later. As they walked out of the Molten Red Scale cave, our MC confirmed his suspicions. Everything inside was just silver tier gear. At this point in the game, getting your hands on gold tier equipment was basically a myth. Ching then ran up to him saying he knew something. When Yuen asked him what he was on about, Ching warned him that the Ebony Guild is notoriously vengeful. Apparently, if they take an L in the game, well, they find a way to get revenge on players in real life. Ching even offered to get his bodyguards to watch Yuen's back, but our MC just waved it off. He said, "Thanks for the heads up, but they're just a bunch of pathetic insects, and I know exactly how to crush." After a bit, Yuen logged out of the game, taking his helmet off to go get some food. He stood up from his desk and walked to the door, but when he opened it, a seriously tall and intimidating man was standing right there. Yuen tensed up for a second, but then the man who turned out to be his dad took off a gaming helmet and asked if it was the same model Yuen used. "Is it broken?" he asked. Yuen said it was working fine, but then asked why his dad had even bought one in the first place. Apparently, his mom found it while cleaning Linton's room. This sparked a memory for our MC, who wondered if this was around the time she had awakened her hidden class in his previous life. Right on cue, his mom came up and asked why they were just standing there. It was time to eat. During the meal, she teased his father, saying he doesn't understand any of this new tech. She told Yuen that his dad was just trying to find something in common to talk to him about. He spent the entire day with that helmet and couldn't even switch it on. She laughed. His dad shot back, saying that wasn't true. He claimed he was just worried she might have smashed one of his things while she was cleaning and was just giving it a once-over. Our MC figured why not get his parents into the infinite world. He could use in-game resources to finally pay them back for everything. And when the cataclysm eventually goes down, they'll actually be able to protect themselves. He even assured them it's not a hard game at all. He's planning to buy 2 more helmets so his mom can join in too. But she just tells him he shouldn't be wasting his money like that. The MC insists everything's cool and she doesn't need to worry. Then he switches gears, asking if his sister Lin Tang is back home yet. His dad looks up from his phone, replying that it's Friday, so she's probably just hanging out with her friends and that he should eat first. But our boy isn't having it. He grabs his own phone, saying he's going to call her right now. The call goes straight to an automated message saying the number is unavailable. This gets our protagonist thinking, because even if she didn't want to talk, she would have at least shot him a text instead of just ghosting him. His mom tries again, saying he should just eat. She's probably just grabbing dinner with her crew. She tells them not to wait up for her. He finally gets up from his chair and tells his folks to go ahead and start without him. He's gonna go buy something real quick, afraid the stores are about to close. His mom is totally baffled, reminding him that the food she cooked is getting cold, but his dad tells her to just let him go. He asks if she remembers how the two siblings were once joined at the hip, and he can't figure it out either. He doesn't get how they drifted so far apart and thinks they just need to communicate more. His mom agrees with him on that. She points out that while Yuen isn't great at showing his feelings, he's still her big brother. This whole situation gives our MC a major flashback to his previous life. He remembers his sister coming home covered in bruises. When he asked what happened, she just shoved past him and coldly said it was none of his business. She even warned him not to call the cops or tell their parents. Back in the present, that the MC realizes that in the past timeline, Lin Tong got into trouble right after she started playing the Infinite World. She managed to awaken a hidden class almost immediately. But with that power came a mountain of problems she never should have had to deal with. And it all began when that one shady organization approached her. The System Organization. It's a mysterious group founded by 9 so-called Chosen Ones. And it's an exclusive club. Only other Chosen Ones can get in. One of their members is a prophet who can literally sense other Chosen Ones out in the real world. He sends out agents from the organization to recruit these special people, and they expand their ranks with terrifying speed. The System Organization's power becomes damn near invincible, and their influence in the real world just keeps on growing. Even though their motives are sketchy and their actions are totally unpredictable, they somehow brought a weird kind of stability to society, which just makes them harder to figure out. After his little sister Linton joined up with them, she was constantly sent on dangerous missions, but she never said a single word about it at home. He really hopes it wasn't their fault she got hurt. But even if it was, he's not about to let her get tangled up in that web again. No way, not this time. A little while later, the MC heads outside to find his sister, and he quickly spots her. She's sitting in a local cafe with a recruiter from the System Organization. Our protagonist immediately ducks behind a wall. He thinks to himself, no cap, I knew it. Little Lin Tong has already made contact, but they're too far away for him to eavesdrop. He can't hear what they're saying, but he also can't risk getting noticed. He knows he has to use a certain skill, even though it's been a hot minute. He takes a deep breath to concentrate, then activates his stealth skill, turning completely invisible before slipping inside the cafe. He takes a moment to note that his stealth is now at level 3, which gives him a solid 5 minutes of being unseen. That should be plenty of time. At the table with Lin Tong are 2 men. One of them, the organization's rep named Hao Cheng, is speaking. He has a dead serious expression as he tells her that he has already told her everything he can. Now it's on her to decide whether to believe him or not. He says joining them isn't just for the good of the organization either. He leans in, explaining that when the great catastrophe hits them in 3 years, she will become a protector just like them, someone who will defend the world. The other guy, Xiao Pao, just chuckles and tells his partner he's scaring the girl and needs to switch to a friendlier tone. But Hao Cheng fires back that he's talking about serious stuff, and this is just as important for her as it is for them. Suddenly, his eyes narrow as he senses our protagonist's presence. He uses a dispel skill from a magic ring, and a system window flashes in our MC's vision. It's a warning his stealth effect will be gone in 3 seconds. Without a second thought, the protagonist zips back behind the wall for cover. Hao Cheng casually calls out to the cafe owner, asking if he has any iced tea on hand. He tells him to pour another cup, but to go. From his hiding spot, the MC realizes the guy just used a dispel skill. It had to be linked to that ring. He got super lucky he had those 3 seconds to bail. The recruiter calmly takes a sip from his own drink. He slides a business card across the table to her, hoping she'll seriously consider their offer to join. He says that a truly righteous person wouldn't just sit back and watch while disaster is on the horizon. When she decides she should call the number on the card, Linton takes the card and nods. With their job done, the 2 men stand up and head for the door. Xiao Pao smiles over his shoulder, adding that they'll be waiting. All right, so she should definitely roll with them. The moment they dipped out, our MC popped his stealth skill again. He started tailing them, but when he hit the street, they were gone. He was like, bruh, did they just vanish? Suddenly, Hao Dong chucked a glass onto the ground, yelling that he knew something was sketchy. The guy just disappeared in the blink of an eye. Just before his skill timed out, Our boy crept up to the broken glass, thinking maybe he was just being extra paranoid. But everything seemed fine. Xiaopan told him he was way too tense and needed to chill out already. Then he asked, "So, you think she's gonna join the squad?" He shot back that according to the clairvoyant's prophecy, it was bound to happen sooner or later. The other guy agreed, saying the clairvoyant's predictions always hit different and were never wrong, but he was low-key more curious about which girl he was destined to spend the rest of his life with. Hao Cheng was like, "Dude, let's survive the apocalypse first. Then maybe they could talk about that." Xiaopan just said that was still ages away. Meanwhile, our protagonist was posted up in a tree scoping them out. He realized they were way stronger than he'd thought. If he'd stuck around any longer, they definitely would have sniffed him out. This endless world had zero chill. He needed to be a lot more careful. It was time to bounce. A little while later, Linton, clutching a business card, literally bumped into her brother. She was totally confused, asking what he was even doing out here. He, holding a bag, just said he went to buy a few things. He asked if she'd eaten yet, pointing out that it was getting late, and she shouldn't make their mom worry any more than she already does. He told her he bought some food, and she should check it out to see if anything looked good. The MC started walking off, thinking she's still such a kid. She can't even really take care of herself yet. After a bit, they got home, and their mom immediately started in on her. "You totally lose track of time with your friends, don't you? Did you even eat?" she asked, offering to warm something up. The girl said it wasn't necessary, and told her to go get some rest. Their mom then turned to the protagonist. She pointed out that he hadn't eaten either, and said she'd whip something up for them. At the same time, Linton slipped into her room. She crashed onto her bed, realizing that all these weird things started happening right after she began playing the game. She had a flashback to fighting giant mantises with Xiao He in the game world. She was shouting at her friend to run. She screamed that she'd create a distraction for the monsters. All of a sudden, a mantis lunged and started attacking her. Linton yelled, "Let her go first. I'll hold them off. I'm on the front lines." "How can I just ditch you guys and run?" she thought, as she charged in and started parrying the monster's blows. Out of nowhere, one of the mantises appeared behind her back and delivered a heavy strike. A system window popped up. It let her know that she'd just activated a hidden ability. Linton then unleashed a massive attack on several monsters at once. She was finally able to fight them off. After backing away to get some space, she used her Blade of Dawn skill. That's when she started wondering if this feeling was actually real. She could feel her body physically changing in the real world. So, if something truly terrible happened, like Hao Cheng warned she might actually be able to protect everyone, could she really do it? But even if this newfound power couldn't stop the nightmare, would the others make it through? Lin Tong looked at a photo of her family, thinking, whether she joins their group or not, she has to get stronger and fast. No cap, she wants to be the one to protect them. At the same time, our MC was sitting in his room, also staring at the family picture. He was thinking they desperately needed to move to a new house. He had to focus 100% on the game and couldn't afford to be on edge all the time. It was time he made their lives a whole lot better. Sometime later, he walked into a real estate agency where a consultant greeted him. She asked if he was there to look at a house. Our MC got straight to the point and asked if they had any high-end villas with serious security. The consultant was kind of stunned, wondering how someone who looked so young could possibly have that kind of cash. She asked him if he had even seen the prices for that particular complex, noting it would be extremely expensive. The protagonist just pulled out his bank card and said he hadn't looked, but he figured it would be enough. The consultant took the card, and her eyes went wide. She gasped that it was an exclusive VIP card, the kind that requires a minimum deposit in the tens of millions. What kind of rich god is he? She thought. Employee number 2345 is at your service. Later, the MC met his parents in front of a massive new villa. His mother, completely baffled, asked if she heard him right. He just confirmed this was their new home, pointing out it even had a private pool. It was just like something out of a TV show. His dad wandered inside, and upon entering the bedroom was shocked, asking if a bed could even be that big. After walking around the house for a bit, they all met up in the living room, the woman still in a daze. She asked how much a house like this even costs, suggesting that maybe they should just return everything. His dad chimed in, saying his mother had a point. Our MC tells them not to sweat it, explaining there's no mortgage on the house because he bought it outright. He paid for it with cash from his gaming competitions, and all he wants is for them to relax and live peacefully. He's going to live nearby so he can stay focused on the game. His dad is completely stunned, saying he never imagined living in a house like this. and he gives all the credit to his son. The mom just smiles, remarking on how quickly their boy grew up. A little while later, our protagonist is chilling behind a grocery store. He's thinking the villa's security is actually pretty solid, but now he needs to get his parents into the game. This way they'll be way more careful and won't just blindly follow stupid orders. Just then, a whole crew armed with blades ambushes him. Their leader Kui smirks and says they've been waiting for him for a minute. He adds that our boy is surprisingly hard to find. The MC immediately clocks him as the leader of the Ebony Guild. With zero warning, the bald dude lunges at him, yelling that since he's such a hotshot fighter in the game, he better be able to back it up in real life. The rest of the goons pile in, with one of them screaming that anyone who dares to disrespect their master is a dead man walking. But our protagonist just cracks a sly smile, pops his stealth skill, and calls them too slow. An instant later, he drops down from above and hits Kui with a devastating blow. After that, he mops the floor with everyone else, picks up a stick, and says that Kui clearly doesn't value his own life. Our hero thinks to himself that these annoying leeches just never quit. Kui, completely terrified, starts screaming that he was wrong, and begs our MC to spare him, pleading not to kill him. He claims he can be useful because he knows about a hidden quest. Our MC just tells him to keep talking, so the bald dude fearfully spills the beans. He tells him to find a blacksmith in the main city named Huoxian. After that, he has to grind out some quests delivering minerals for the guy. Once his reputation with the blacksmith gets high enough, he'll hook him up with a set of golden armor. This hits different for our MC, who remembers someone from his past life getting that golden armor super quickly. The word on the street was that it was tied to a secret NPC, so maybe this guy isn't capping. Still, our protagonist grips his stick, absolutely fuming. He tells Kui he'd better stop being such a tool because he has tons of ways to mess him up, both in the game and out here. He makes it crystal clear that if Kui ever touches his family, he'll end up just like that stick. The horrified look on Kui's face says it all. He quickly says he understands. A while later, we're in the main city of the Western Desert, inside the Moonlit Night Tavern. Our protagonist walks up to Huoxian, who's in the middle of drinking. The old man doesn't waste any time and asks if he can bring him 100 minerals. He warns him not to mess around, saying he looks way too clean to be a miner. But if he's not lying, he'll craft him a weapon for free. Our MC figures Kui was probably telling the truth, so it's time to hit the mines. At that exact moment, a woman named Matilda is trying to leave, but some random dude grabs her arm and asks where she's going. He offers to get her a drink, but she shuts him down flat, telling him she doesn't know him and to get his hands off her. The guy just ignores her and tells her to come with him, promising he won't hurt her. That's when the creep notices our protagonist's stare. He snaps at him, asking what he's looking at, and threatening to tear his eyes out. In response, our boy lays him out with one clean punch. He just mutters that the guy was an insolent punk who didn't value his own life. Matilda is totally impressed, telling our MC he's really handsome. She thanks him and asks if she can buy him a drink, but our protagonist just walks right by her. He just says no thanks. She catches up to him and tells him not to run off, but then she suddenly trips and starts to fall. With some seriously smooth moves, he catches her like they're in the middle of a dance. Matilda smiles and says he must love dancing, and that she does too, right before she passes out cold in his arms. A little bit later, our MC gets her a room at the tavern and puts her to bed before finally heading over to the mine. Once he arrives, he spots a pack of giant wolves, which makes him think about the 12 rebellious dogmen that guard the gates to his personal underworld.